Good evening, bunnies. It's your girls, Ashling, and you're watching a stream by Rabbit. And today we are going to have a special stream. First of all, happy Pride Month, right, everyone? Hope you guys are enjoying your week so far. And whether you're celebrating with someone you love or just soaking the vibes of great joy, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And today we are going to do a just chatting stream. Let me drink some water first. Oh yeah. Yeah, we are going to do a just chatting stream. But this is not the usual one we do, you know. We're going to talk about something a little more serious this time. For the first time in the channel, since, you know, it's Pride Month and I'm allowed to be controversial, right? So yeah, I'm gonna share today, I'm gonna share with you today, the side of LGBTQ plus, and you know what it means to be part of the LGBTQ communities, as well as other relevant things that are going on with the world, and a lot of it. In a lot of the LGBTQ related topics, you know, anything more political going on for the channel, I do have a lot of ideas for it. But it would be for, yeah, I guess most of it gonna be for another day. And we're gonna discuss how everything is kind of like unfair for the community, and how most people kind of have a different outlook on us, and how it kind of creates some kind of like, now how people's other people's that are different, and how unfair things could be. And we're gonna keep it light today. Cousin Donuts, some institutions show solidarity by raising the rainbows. Yeah, near all the flags. Yeah, yeah, the rainbow flags. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing. We need to have more people, you know, exposed to the reality of this world, which is queer people exist. You know, queer people always exist and always will be. Always will be. So yeah, we're keeping it light to start. And we'll be reacting to some content. And today, I'm giving into the outrage culture, and I'm gonna be reacting to one of the classic Julie B video. You know how this kind of channel always put people who are pro, who are like at the opposite side of each other. So this video is about one LGBTQ activist plus 25 conservatives surrounded video. Yeah, they always kind of make things controversial like this. And for those who are like wondering how, you know, one LGBTQ activist can debate 25 conservatives, well, for the first part, yeah, this is what Julie do. It's what Julie do for the most part. They always make something like this outrageous, and I think we're gonna have a bit of the pie of these issues. But the thing that I like is that they chose someone who is very professional when it comes to the LGBTQ side to be the speaker. So, well, this is gonna be some spicy content. Yeah, I also have a ton of cool ideas brewing behind the screen, but I'm saving most of them until we hit our 500 subscriber score. And yeah, on the sub goal, I'm gonna doing a special stream where I'll be doing a face review. And you know, after doing the face review where I reveal my true identity, we are going to be taking things a bit further. You know, and going to spike up bike. I think we are bike. Alright, we're good, we're chilling. We Gucci, we Tamaguchi. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so oh yeah. I was going on with this. So yeah, first of all, if you guys are like wondering, I'm also part of the LGBT crowd. I'm gonna be limited when it comes to like revealing my identity, and I'm gonna go with, you know, with what I feel comfortable most. So yeah, I'm Demi girl, and I'm also bisexual, yeah. So yeah, I'm that bitch, you know, and you just have to live with it. Just kidding. But seriously, I do relate a lot to the experience when I talk about today. You know, kinda means a lot to me. So, yeah, and I think I'm planning to do a proper coming out video soon. I think I kinda want to wait until I have the time and I have the heart to actually talk about it. So, just to make things clear. Okay, yeah. We're glad. I'm glad I'm back, sister. Alright. So yeah, the videos we're going on today. It's gonna be interesting. And I'll say like discussing about conservative viewpoints and LGBTQ plus viewpoints. I'm gonna try my best to be in the middle of it, even though I really do identify with LGBTQ people. I'm gonna be respectful and see things on the both sides. And usually going on into the videos, I will stop and commentate on my viewpoints about all the things that they have said. So without further ado, let's start things off, shall we? Oh, I need to like turn on the volume.
Alliance, a youth-led political movement focusing on...
So yeah, for this stream though, I plan to stream for a couple of hours. And this Julie B videos is actually quite long. Is 1.5 hours long. And provided with my commentary, I think reacting fully to this video gonna take me, you know, more than probably 2 hours, probably more. And if we have more time, I do have more content, so I'm gonna jump into this one first. Maybe we should colonize our... Yeah, I know! Yeah, I know, Cotton Donut is one of my wishful thinking as well. Like, for all of the things that is like so hateful in the world, we could, I guess, as communities, we're gonna escape to Mars and live there. I mean, the problem is that Elon Musk gonna fund a trip to Mars first though, and if Elon Musk gotta be someone who start a colony on Mars first, I think we're gonna have issues. So yeah, but escaping to Mars is not a bad idea because honestly, with all the hatred is going on in the world right now, we're about to be destroyed. We're going to destroy each other just like that, you know.
School boards in Florida, and today I'm surrounded by 25 conservatives.
So the way, so I just gave this video a little bit of a watch, and what they are gonna do is that they will have one LGBTQ activist, but for the 25 conservatives, they're gonna come into the middle one at a time. So it's gonna be only a debate between one people at a time. It's not gonna be this person just standing in the middle and 25 people's gonna echo. And no, it's not gonna be like that.
My first claim is Donald Trump and Elon Musk are grooming more young Americans than the LGBTQ+ community.
I think I agree on that. I mean, the problem is that how are we gonna define grooming, right? How are you gonna define grooming? If we define grooming as like trying to suppress the kids to be confined to gender norms instead of letting them just being themselves, I think that would be considered grooming, right? I think that would be considered grooming. You're grooming your child to be a hateful bigot, and that's not really okay. And I think I agree with most of the LGBT, Q identity. What's wrong with being yourself, right? And I don't think most parents of LGBTQ plus kids, they don't really groom their child to be like that. Their child just turned out to be like that. And I mean, I really do hear a lot of opinions that the conservative always going on about like, oh, the school and the institution trying to gay them kids. But honestly, is it grooming? Is it grooming that the institution's gonna... what they do is that they are making kids aware of such issues. They might identify with it, they might not identify with it for the most part. But why is it grooming kids? Why is it grooming kids? Gosh, you got all of them. Going in the middle.
Can we agree that grooming is bad and should be punished?
Yeah.
Okay, lit. What I would say is that Donald Trump and Elon Musk use their positions of influence over young Americans to change the way hundreds of thousands of young Americans think and behave throughout elementary, middle, and high schools, which has been documented, studied, and proven to increase bullying and harm, and it infringes on parental consent.
Bullying, yeah. We have to mention about bullying as well. Yeah, like a lot of kids just being grown to teach that being different is wrong, right? Some of them even got indoctrinated with racism by their parents, and it's quite often issues. Like, it's just how human instincts. I think it's kind of like in our human instinct to like hate each other based on differences, but with how society kind of goes nowadays, I don't think that should be the case anymore, right?
Agree.
I think that what they are trying to do is not grooming, but trying to...
Let's define grooming. We should start by doing that.
Yeah.
I would say that grooming is someone with a position of influence over another person attempting to change their thought patterns or behavior to exploit them. Would you agree?
Right.
What I would say...
Hold on, I need to reduce my background noise. There we go. I have to put the fans away for a bit.
Is that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are proven to have been doing that with elementary, middle, and high school children by sending targeted ads to youth demographics, accessing their rhetoric on social media, and what studies have shown, studies of tens of thousands of...
Yeah, I think that he's right. He's right on this. I think he's on the nose on this. Like, what the social media nowadays? You know, you have like your Elon Musk. I think everyone kind of like familiar with Elon Musk and Twitter, right? And how it kind of like evolved into like a right-wing echo chamber. But when we're gonna talk about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook as well, and as well as Meta, and I think a lot of the social media companies right now are kind of like kowtowing to conservatives and Trump, and that's why even Mark Zuckerberg, the other day, Mark Zuckerberg and Meta decided that they will roll back on hate speech. So hate speech is practically legal now against LGBTQ plus people on Meta, and we all need to talk about this. That's right, everyone. Captain Donut, people should like to look how the Roman Empire was destroyed 2,000 years ago. I mean, you're kinda right on that, but I think for most people who frequented with like history and try to like see how pattern history kind of like repeated, they're always going to like how America is like the next Roman Empire and how it's gonna like crumble one day. And some of them right-wing people were like, making this comparison. They always think like, oh shit, wokeness gonna destroy us. Oh, and everyone is not doing what I like, so I must hate on those people. But spoiler alert, you're not the center of attention. Spoiler alert, right? I mean, they always make this comparison now. Oh my god, the West is so soft nowadays. The West is woke and all this nonsense. But I mean, what's wrong with being woke? What's wrong with being woke for the most part? Like, people trying to be happy, people trying to adopt into whatever make them feel most comfortable. What's wrong with being that? I think even strong people's right? Even people's like peak masculinity or peak femininity. I mean, what's wrong with being happy? What's wrong with being happy? You could both be masculinity, or you could be femininity, or you could be, other identity without being weak. You can still be strong while embracing with embracing whatever you feel most comfortable in your identity, right?
Teachers reported incidents, school reports, hundreds of disciplinary reports sent.
Yeah, and you can right, Captain Donut. The Roman Empire and the Greeks was gay as fuck. Was the peak of gayness. The classical Greek civilization was peak gayness, and those homophobic pupils cannot argue against that.
Studies have proven that there's increase in bullying in places where Donald...
I think they have a plan.
Well, let me finish this really quickly. It's important
the
to note
United
that
States
there
of
have been
America.
thousands of cases of Donald Trump's rhetoric being linked specifically to bullying incidents that have been done by elementary schoolers, middle schoolers, and high schoolers who all said that they felt vindicated in their actions because Donald Trump, the president, told them that it was okay. And what we're also seeing is that in community
Not just Donald Trump, social media as well, they are like influencing the kids.
that have a 10-point increase in support for Donald Trump, there's an 8% increase in bullying. And the reason that this is unique is this has never happened in politics before. It hasn't
I'm gonna let
mattered
you
Republican
finish.
or Democrat. It's
I'm gonna let you
specifically Donald Trump and Elon Musk working to change the minds of young Americans, and they're doing it for exploitative gain.
Right.
Exploitive.
I think that we are tired. We're tired of the left or the LGBT community. We're tired of them trying
what?
to influence the children as well.
No one's trying to influence the children, except
Yes, they
Donald
are.
Trump and Elon Musk.
No. They're trying to influence the children. So
The LGBTQ plus community is not
We're not doing that.
trying to influence.
What's wrong with like making the kids aware of such issues? Like, I'm kind of like so torn on this because when it comes to like Vietnamese education system, they don't really teach those stuff. They never teach about those stuff. I mean, in a way, our society is like progressive now, but growing up, I wasn't taught about, how peoples with different orientations, and it's okay to be, those type of peoples. Like, for a long time, I wasn't aware of my identity growing up. I thought I always have to be straight, I always have to be, true gender without deviating from the norm. And our school teach none of that. Our school teach none of the issues. So that's why I've been growing up like this. And I've grown to deny my queerness, in a sense. And it, in a way that it kind of like destroyed my mind, and I suppressed my feeling for such a long time. It affected my psychological degree, right? This is what's going on. A lot of people out there are queer, but they are either not educated or they are still remaining on the closet just because how society kind of embraces the norm here.
Influence children. They're trying to save children's lives.
Exactly. This is how it means by saving people's life.
agree.
You can't disagree without facts.
Because it saved my life. Just knowing that people like me exist and I'm not really alone in this world.
Otherwise,
we
we're
can
not
talk about
operating in reality.
castration. That's not saving lives. That's not saving lives.
Okay.
That's not saving
I want to break that
lives.
down because it's a scary concept. If people were actually chemically castrating young Americans, I would also be freaking out. I would also have problems. But when we work with the medical professionals, when we talk to the psychologists, when we work with the families, we see that that is not happening. We see that that's not happening. There are 0.01% of young Americans that are receiving non-reversible gender-affirming care, and in 90% of those cases, that was life.
Yeah. This is what I heard, right? This is what I heard. The things when it comes to trans statistic is that I think 2 to 3% of pupils in at least America, right? But it's kind of like applies to Vietnam too. I think in Vietnam it's like 1% or 2%. I don't know, but similar numbers. So 2%, roughly, are transgenders. And for all of those 2% that is transgender, only 1% of them regret transitioning. So yeah, 1%. And while you're gonna hear a lot of like detransition case kind of happening everywhere, but it's kind of like small case here and there, and how the right wing keep perpetuate on that, and they might have, regret transitioning, and it seems like most of them are either doing that. But the truth is that only 1% of the trans community regret transitioning. And the reason why a lot of people, some people kind of like detransition for the first place is because they got pressured by friends and families to do so. And yeah, friends and families. First of all, medical to treat a medical condition, you need money. And for a lot of places in the world, HRT is kind of free after you evaluate within with mental health institution for a while. But for a lot of different countries, especially like in my country's Vietnam, HRT is the government don't really fund HRT, and trans people have to do DIY. I mean, it's not illegal, but that's just the reality of what we are dealing with. We like the fact that trans people have to spend their own money to go to HRT treatment, and yeah, I think that's the issues. First of all, monetary issues. Some people would detransition because of that, not because they wanted to, and family issues, right? They might have come out, and family might not accept them, and maybe some of the parents would go like, "Hey, if you're continuing this route, we're not gonna accept you in this household anymore." And yeah, they basically have to stay in line, especially with some people who have like careers and friends, and they might be somewhere. Even though some of the places might be really progressive, but some you cannot really stop like people's being judgmental everywhere, and especially if they are like in transphobic or homophobic or like Arabian countries, Middle Eastern countries, but most of all, some Asian countries are pretty kind of like conservative, cultures that we kind of like having on in here. If we are not staying in line as queer pupils, trying to appeal to, non-queer pupils, it's gotta be a problem. So that's why the transition statistic might not be as you think.
Saving care. That is life-saving care. Tragedies happen.
No. Let's
Medical
talk about
mistakes
society
happen.
as a whole, okay?
Do more people regret their gender-affirming care, or do they regret knee
We
surgery,
need to
hip
get
replacement, LASIK eye surgery?
Okay, let's pause.
can't
We've been
even
voted
do
out
that.
by the majority.
Track star. How you doing?
Well, how are you?
Michael. Okay, so your claim is Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing more grooming, right?
Yes.
Than LGBT activists.
100%. Do you want to hear more about why?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, amazing. So Donald Trump's rhetoric has specifically been linked to bullying cases in elementary, middle, and high school. What we see are also that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are working in tandem to access young people through their phone screens. Donald Trump and Elon Musk worked to reduce Twitter protections, and we saw the firing of staff that worked to specifically set children's guidelines. We now
Yeah, I mean that's the sinister thing that social media companies gonna do. They kind of like roll back on like protection. I mean, they're not being outwardly transphobic, right? Or encourage like people being hateful, but they even by removing protection against hate speech, it's gonna be a lot of problems.
About 1/4 of young people that are online are on Twitter, and they're accessing media because also the algorithm has been changed to make sure that Elon Musk content and far-right content are boosted by about 1,000%, and that's been measured by a variety of studies. And so our young Americans, while they're on their phones without parental supervision, are absorbing rhetoric that psychologists have measured to be damaging not only to their minds, but to their peers' minds. So we've specifically seen hundreds of cases in over 20 states that bullying has increased as a result of Donald Trump and Elon Musk's rhetoric. There was an incident in Parkland where one student was bullied so severely that they attempted suicide because they kept being told Donald Trump says you need to leave. Donald Trump says you are illegal. And it is a heartbreaking, devastating truth because these young minds are not voters. This has nothing to do with a political campaign. It has everything to do with changing the political culture and working to specifically target young people. That's why they're banning books. That's why they're trying to restrict information that our children have access to and trying to give them a broken worldview so that when they continue to idolize.
I mean, yeah. banning books. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember the last time? Other than this current day, the last time somebody was banning books? During World War II, the Nazi regime, they tried to burn everything. They tried to burn up a library full of Jewish history, full of this kind of like hateful rhetoric. They ban books. Basically, banning books is censoring information, and it's even worse than you think. I mean, if you are like censoring on the internet, there might be like archive of that, but books are like physical things. If you try to get rid of them, you're trying to destroy one piece of our history and culture. And not even the Nazi burned down all the Jewish books. They also burned everything that relates to queer, gender identity, and LGBTQ. And so for those people who think that LGBTQs are kind of like a new thing going on in this new era, no, it's not. I think the queerness, right? I think queerness has always been existing in history for a couple of years now. I think a lot of people kind of like, for example, speculate that Isaac Newton was gay, right? Because he never married and he has like a really good roommate, guy friend. So yeah, queerness has always existed around history, all the way in history. And I think if a lot of people like you are calling that queerness is not a natural thing, it's a natural thing. Although it might not be like the norm, but it's still a natural thing, and I don't see any reason why we should be hateful and try to suppress all of this stuff, all of our natures.
As Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Hold on. At this point, UK is the most advanced in these issues. I don't know. UK seems to be rolling back on a lot of progressive things. I think when it comes to like which country might be the most progressive, I think either it would be like Germany or like the Scandinavian countries. I don't know which is like the most, but all the Scandinavian countries like Norway, Sweden, and Finland, they are already progressive. So yeah, if you want to like escape your countries because of people like you, LGBTQ peoples, could live in a regime that could kill them. Yeah, that's right. That's what I said. Some government in the world, like the one that is like in the Middle East, in some parts of Africa, they could kill you. They could kill you just because you're different. So yeah, if you are trying to escape your countries, going to like a more progressive place, Scandinavian countries, Germany, or even some country in Asia, like Taiwan. Taiwan is like a really good place for queer peoples, actually. Vietnam is trying to do its best. Thailand is actually really good. Vietnam is trying to do its best. Don't go to Indonesia because they are Islamist. Japan is trying to do its best as well. Korea, but well, you know what I mean.
They won't know the line of when they've gone too far, and that's a huge problem.
And don't go to America. Please don't go to America. You can go to Canada. You can go to Canada or Australia or New Zealand. Those places are good as well. But don't ever go to America right now because it's pretty unstable over there.
We should not.
Even my American friends are like advising against going to America right now. So you can imagine what is that going on.
And Musk, they won't know the line of when they've gone too far, and that's a huge problem. We should not.
For cotton tonners, dolphin is the smartest animal on. I guess you're saying dolphins are the smartest animal, and the dolphins participate in same-sex activities. Yeah. Not just the dolphins though. I think dolphins are really smart, and a lot of them are gays. So being gay is not just, excuse me by the way, but being gay is not just a human thing. Being queer is not just a human thing. It's also nature. It's also a nature thing, and it could happen to any species as well. Not just the dolphin, by the way. Not just animals who are sexually dimorphic, but other animals. I think clownfish, right? Every clownfish. I mean, that's what I remembered. Every clownfish species are like gender fluid. That's what I heard. Clownfish always have like two genders, and they kind of shift between that from time to time. Am I right on that? Am I recalling things wrong? Clownfish. Wait, let me just search this. Clownfish gender fluid. A clownfish gender fluid. Okay, clownfish are hermaphroditic, basically. The term for gender fluid. Wait. No, it's not. But I think they're intersex. They're born as male with ability to become female. Oh. I mean, I guess they could transition. They could either be cis or trans, I guess. That's what it means. I mean, it's even in their natures. Like, a society has advanced in a way that humans could transition to a different sex by, doing like operations, gender affirming care. But you know what I mean. Even clownfish can become trans. Wait. I need to see this. There's a video about a clownfish about to change their sex? Hold on, let's see this.
My
So
name is
curious.
Justin Rhodes, and I study behavioral neuroscience. We've chosen a model organism that shows a very dramatic example of social environment.
Trans people exist! How can you argue against this? People ran away. Oh no. It was mommy actually a male. Please don't misgender. Please. Let me see. Okay, interesting comments.
Lasting impact on the behavior
Okay.
and physiology of the organism as a model system
I think
of
things
how
just
the brain
fail.
orchestrates this. And these are clownfish which change sex depending on the social environment. We have clownfish paired off in 26 tanks. One male, one female, and maybe a couple of other smaller undifferentiated fish living on sea anemones. And the larger one is always female, dominant. And the second in the hierarchy is the male.
Dang! Even feminism? Let's go.
Female
Even the
in the hierarchy is the male.
even the female one is like the dominant one.
And if you remove the female,
That's crazy. I think a lot of animals kingdom, they're kind of like different, right? Like for all of those people who always think that, oh, even in the animals kingdom, males always rule over the females. It's not. Like, you know, like animals like ants, they have and a lot of like animal kingdom in the terms of insect, they always have like a queen, right? They always have like a strong leader, strong female queen.
male will change sex and become female in a matter of a couple of months. And basically, this is through the brain interpreting this social change. The clownfish has both testicular tissue and ovarian tissue, and so just encourage.
Wait, I think they're intersex. No, they're intersex, right? No way.
Encouraging one another
I think they're intersex.
to develop. It's unclear exactly what signals they're using, probably mostly vision, maybe some olfaction, and maybe even sound, and then that probably communicates to hypothalamus, areas of the brain that we know communicate.
They're free to choose their genders, you know. I think clownfish are like free to choose their gender. Like they just born intersex, right? And then one day they just choose whichever path they go with.
Pituitary
I think it's really cool.
the little gland right below the brain, which releases hormones into the blood, which communicate to the gonads, causing testes to absorb and ovaries to develop and morphology to change.
Yeah, wait.
Causing below the brain, which releases hormones into the blood, which communicate to the gonads, causing testes to absorb and ovaries to develop and morphology to change.
I guess predominantly like they born with most of it's like testes. But yeah,
Completely reverse.
I think it's kind of like intersex because you know there's female tissues as well, but predominantly male.
The behaviors, because this used to be a male and now it's dominant and behaving like a female and so on. One hypothesis is
pretty crazy.
that sex change will involve some reorganization of the brain, and we can measure and track when we remove the female and observe what changes take place in the brain of that male changing sex in the female. We can see what areas of the brain are sprouting new neurons or what areas of the brain are removing new neurons. We can discover then how, in this one dramatic example of how the social environment reorganizes behavior and presumably makes some inferences.
Yeah, for those people who might be thinking, hey, LGBT is not natural. How about this? How about this? If there's like a homophobe who might be arguing LGBTQ things are not natural. LGBTQ things are not natural. Just show them this video. Just show them this video, man.
Two human implications potentially are humans also have a similar, they don't change sex, but social environment can have long-lasting effects on their behavior and personality. Presumably this involves similar biology. Another potential implication of this work is identifying changes in the brain that apparently are necessary to function as a female versus a male. If you measure male and female brains, you see differences. The question is, which of those differences are functional? What are the neuroanatomical or physiological differences between a male and a female brain that makes males behave like males and females behave like females? Difficult to know when you compare males and females in different species. But in a sex-changing fish, presumably those changes that are actually undergoing reorganization, new neurons sprouting up in one area, neurons degrading in another area, those are most likely to be functional because that's going to be very energetically costly to the animal to start with.
Okay. Okay, that might be enough of that. I just want to search this though. Fish translated. What's your opinion on clownfish? Yeah, trans clownfish. Let's go. Wait, let me check this. Trans clownfish. I knew it. Okay, so if LGBTQ is not natural, what about this? Checkmate bigot. I think I like it. Yeah. Let's continue with the video. Hi there, hello little man. How you doing? I'm kinda late, but oh well. It's not like we have discussed much things, but I did went into a lot of things, so well, you guys gonna stuck up in me today as I discuss like really controversial things. Not really controversial at all, might I add. I think from my take, it's not really controversial because I'm showing you my viewpoint, and at the same time I'm showing you the evidence, right? How being LGBTQ is not. It's natural. Actually, it's natural because clownfish exist and, other creatures might have been. I think jellyfish to some degree are like, they don't have genders, right? Some animals don't even have genders.
Not have the most powerful person in the world who's setting an example for our young people.
Oh yeah, hope you have a happy Pride Month. Hello.
Who most of our young people say they recognize as the most powerful person in the world, sharing hate speech that we see manifest in elementary school classrooms. 90% of teachers surveyed after Donald Trump's first election stated that school climate worsened specifically due to Trump rhetoric and bullying that was directly linked to Donald Trump's name and catchphrases. It's not a coincidence, it's not a parallel, and it's not something that's ever happened before.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. For the sake of the argument, I would say that I agree to an extent, right? Obviously, it depends on what we.
Wait, are you agreeing on bullying? Are you telling me this conservative agree on bullying?
What's grooming, right?
Well, let's define grooming.
Yeah. So
what would you define grooming?
Are you justifying grooming?
So typically in, most political circles, right, they would say grooming is any kind of act that kind of leads to like a sexual act.
That's sexual grooming.
Yeah,
grooming also works with terrorist organizations and cults. So I would say that grooming has a broad definition until
I
you
would
specify.
say that grooming is not intrinsic or exclusive to the political right? Grooming is...
No, it's not. It's something that happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. Democrats do it.
Horrible.
Republicans do it, right?
Some people whose favorite color is yellow do it too.
Yes, but my point is that for the sake of argument, I would say I agree, but I kind of reject the initial premise because, and even this ties into your previous point, because I think what you're actually trying to say is that the agenda that LGBT activists...
There is no agenda.
Everyone has an agenda. It doesn't matter.
Well, the LGBTQ activists make it sound like there's a coordinated agenda, when in reality there's a bunch of people who want equal rights.
If you're organized group, you have an agenda.
We're not organized. I promise we're disorganized.
Okay. Well, for the sake of argument, let's just say every group has some kind of focus and things they're trying to accomplish, right? That's not exclusive to one party.
Sure.
But the reason I think what you're trying to say is that LGBT groups aren't the issue. Gun violence, stuff like that is the issue. Exactly. But the reason why I kind of reject that premise.
Wait. Wait, we have a conservative here who is against gun violence, who is against gun law. Alright, this guy may be based. I don't know. Just kidding aside though. Like, almost all Republicans are like pro-gun, right? But I think it's kind of cool to see someone who's like a bit different here.
Premise is because when it comes to a lot of these medical conversations we have, there is actually no medical consensus. Like where
there is a medical consensus.
I think it's this.
There is a medical consensus.
It's
How
not.
many doctors are in the AMA?
If you have doctors who disagree, that by definition means there's no medical consensus. Also, when you have instances like, have you heard about there was a $10 million NIH-funded study led by, I believe her name was Dr. Johanna.
Yes.
And she did a study and found that there were but there weren't as much mental health benefits.
I know what you're referencing, and that's been debunked and disproven. The box is going to pop up here.
Okay, sure. But the thing is, when you have...
referencing, that's been...
Dr. Johanna found puberty blockers does not lead to mental health improvement. It does? It does though. Like if you're like a trans kid transitioning to a different gender and you might not want to do it yet. That's why kids kind of start on hormones blocker for the first place. And transitioning is the way to improve or cope with your gender dysphoria. It's not likely because children were doing well. When they started puberty blocker, continued in doing good shape. 2 years later, she questioned the result of her own study and said more. Yeah.
Been debunked and disproven. The
That study needs more.
box is going to pop up here.
Okay, sure. But the thing is, when you have conversation, we have doctors in various groups who don't. There is no such thing as consensus when it comes to science. Like if you have people who
There's technically no
disagree-
consensus that comes to everything.
Yes,
All
but-
it takes is
but-
one person in the
but-
corner of the
but-
world
but-
going like,
but the issue-
I don't like French
but the
fries,
issue-
and suddenly
but
French
the
fries
issue
aren't
that
popular.
the issues that conservatives have is the gaslighting. When you say things like it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening, because that is fundamentally not true, and you can't have
The
conversations
way that you're
with
describing,
people.
let me clarify this, because when I say it's not happening at all, I mean the way that you describe it. Because it's important for people listening and watching not to think that the care that you're describing is happening, because, and let's break it down, the care that has been described throughout this episode as chemical castration, as these attacks on young Americans, are not happening at all. Am I saying that
Oh yeah. A viewpoint that I hear as well, right, is that like a lot of the people on the right wing, they always say that, oh my god, those trans activists are out there. False transing. Oh my gosh, all those trans activists out there. The transing that is basically crazy harassment. Yeah. I don't really see it. I mean, to be trans, you have to go through a lot of mental progress before you're being provided with free hormones. It's not... This argument is that I don't want to even think about it.
any young American has ever regretted receiving gender-affirming care? They have. It's heartbreaking, and I want our medical professionals to continue to learn more and do better.
Okay,
but to say what they're
no, but the
doing
thing-
is happening
hold
is
on,
a lie, and I won't excuse a
hold on,
lie.
because the issue is that when you have other medical groups, I think you referenced the American Psychological Association
And psychiatric.
Yes.
And
even
pediatric.
Even they
And
have
medical.
even they have said that when it comes to gender affirming care, a lot of kids, when they go through adolescence, when they go through puberty, no longer have that same gender dysphoria. And it goes back to
It might worse than the dysphoria if they are trans though. Right? That's why they're on puberty blocker in the first place. If cis people, even cis people, like, for example, some cis kids could take, like, testosterone, or they may take hormones to affirm them. Even cis kids, normal as not trans kids, they take hormones to be affirming to their genders if they, for example, some of them could suffer from hormone deficiency. So that's why all the medical system has been providing cis people with opportunity. So why is all that prevented when it comes to trans people?
Do you know why?
But hold on.
Okay,
Because
care worked.
odds. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
I appreciate you.
Chair.
You have a good vibe.
I guess because this guy was kind of arguing in a good faith. I could see this guy is a bit more in the good faith.
I appreciate you.
Chair.
Gosh.
You have a good vibe. Love your shirt.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're saying that Elon Musk and Trump are grooming kids,
Yes.
right? Okay. So you have a unique lifestyle, right? Gay, LGBTQ. To keep that lifestyle, we need men in this country to be in the army.
Yeah, the classic. Excuse me, need men. We need men because men are strong and women are weak. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, alright, okay, I'll let you finish.
To defend your right to have your unique
I'm down
lifestyle.
with that. Yeah, I support
So
some of the military.
we got to stop pushing it on kids.
Pushing what on kids?
The trans stuff.
Okay,
LGBTQ
if
stuff.
talking about being trans and being queer made someone who is not trans and queer more likely to be trans and queer, that would result in a lot
That
we're
is
seeing,
happening.
It's not happening. Give me evidence.
Well, it's Look at California.
There are more queer and trans people because queer and trans people feel more comfortable coming out.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a, exactly these points. The more queer people in accepting place because they are free to express themselves. And is that grooming? Is that grooming to tell that they have the ability to do so? I don't think so.
Out and less likely that they're going to receive mass amounts of hatred.
There's been a rise in the LGBTQ, the trans.
Because there's more
and that's
information
because
out
the
there.
media
There's
is
more
pushing it.
affirmation out
No.
there. Because there's more media representation.
The media loves to push it.
It is
onto
evidenced
children.
over the last decade that the more queer people are discussed,
Why are we
the
doing
more
drag,
queer people feel
why
safe.
are we doing drag queen
Drag
story
queens are
hour?
fun. Drag queens are
Okay, but
fun.
it's not for children.
Okay, this drag queen story hours. Okay, I have to admit it. I used to think about drag queens and how they are kind of like harmful and wrong and kind of like have a bad influence on LGBTQ plus community. But that's my past viewpoint. I think drag queen story hours. The reason why they did it is that, first of all, drag queen in the US, they are kind of like interconnected to the queer community, aka the Stonewall Riot. There are like a lot of drag queens that is like, integral to the history of queerness in America. And and second of all, the reason why drag queen is kind of like presented to kids, most of them in, I guess all of them is kind of like in a non-sexual way, but drag queen is being presented to kids because it's kind of like how they kind of like normalize, they kind of like, so allow kids what's going on in their mind and what's being influenced by their families and peers is that there's always be like a gender binary, right? Like men and women, that's what they instill to the kids. But drag queen story hour kind of like flip that coin out of his head. Like men could dress like a woman too, and women could dress like a man, and that's like an okay thing to do. And if you are trans, then you can just do it. Like seriously, like if you want to express yourself how you do, like even if you're not trans, even if you like might be like gender non-conforming, and you might be like a man who want to dress like a woman, like being a femboy, or you can be like a tomboy, a masculine woman, that is also, acceptable.
Why not for children? I would say a drag queen at a story hour is more like a birthday party clown than anything else. They have a fun hair, fun makeup, fun shoes,
children.
fun outfit.
It's a
some
strip
drag
tease.
Queens, okay,
It's a strip
okay,
tease.
some drag queens are strip teases. If I ordered a birthday clown,
I mean, yeah, they're kind of arguing that, a lot of trans queens, drag queens, a lot of drag queens are sexual in nature, right? And like in the underground, most of the time drag queens are kind of like sexual acts. But I don't think when drag queens interact with kids, they're gonna do something like that. Is it sexual that? Is it even like being sexual that somebody is trying to represent something other than their born sex? Because I don't think that is.
a birthday clown.
They just dress normally when they talk to kids. And I think the evidence is basically on the puddings at this point.
And Pennywise showed up to my birthday party and started eating my
clown
children
is
alive,
different.
I would be like, wait, that's the wrong clown. That's the wrong clown. No. Some drag queens,
Clowns
some
are
drag queens
different than
perform
drag
at
queens.
nightclubs.
Well,
some drag queens
kind of.
read at
See? Yeah.
bookstores.
I mean, we could talk more about this, but we could go into the evidence, but I think that would be like prolonging the stream a bit much.
Some drag queens go do events. Some drag queens go do festivals. There are no reported incidents.
It's not for
Hold
children.
on, this is important. Queer people, trans people, and drag queens, none of them have any correlation to being more likely to commit a sex crime.
Being a drag queen doesn't mean that you only dress outside, dressing sexual all the time. That's not being a drag queen is. Like, it's just presenting differently, you know.
To be a groomer or
That's
to do
not
anything
true.
pedophilic. It's
That's
data.
not
It's
true.
Hello, Pennywise is the scariest clown. Gotta love clown, you know. You gotta love clown. What society is gonna be without clowns, you know? It's gonna be a dark, depressive place. I can tell you that much.
proven. The American Medical Association, American Psychological Association, the World Health Organization have proven that there is no
Listen, this
more
is what's
danger.
going on. Let me tell you what's going on. The LGBTQ community has gone too far.
How?
Okay, so I'm an ex-Democrat. I used to live in San Francisco.
Actually, same.
Yeah. So I went to Gay Pride and it was fun. You know,
Right?
there's girls there, there's straight
Yes.
women. So obviously that's awesome. But so yeah, when I went in 2010,
Okay,
Gay
interesting. How did it become like this
Pride
then?
was just San Francisco.
Have you ever been to Mardi Gras?
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: Gay Pride.
Did you know
is
Mardi
now,
Gras is labeled as family friendly?
Okay, but Gay Pride is now everywhere.
So wait,
Mardi
are
Gras
you,
is just in New Orleans.
have you ever been to a sports party?
Yeah, but
Well, it's not called a sports party. What's it called? Like when they meet out and they're like in front of the game. Tailgates.
yeah,
Tailgates.
okay, that's different than Gay Pride.
Have you ever been to a football game?
Gay Pride is everyone making out and having sex on the street.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That-
No, it's not. No, it's not. What? Okay, what's your sauce, Senator? What's your sauce? My sauce is that I'm ready to fuck up.
I was
illegal.
there.
That's illegal. That's illegal. The vast majority of Pride
okay,
events.
We're
the
talking
vast
about San
majority of Pride-
Francisco here.
Okay, San Francisco's extra
Who's-
gay,
yeah,
but the vast
and
majority
extra,
of Pride events.
extra sexualized. It's
No,
a European
gay
city.
is not inherently sexual.
San Francisco is a European.
Oh yes, I guess being European is gay. The joke could have write itself. Is he gay or is he European? Oh gosh. Why does it look shiny? I don't know. I have the urge to catch it. You can do it with power. Don't worry, hello. You can do it with power. Seems like he's advertising it. Like being advertised, like advertising himself in Democrat.
City.
San Francisco's
that
in the
is
United
extra
States of
sexuali-
America.
Quick, let me.
Majority of Pride
okay,
events.
We're
the
talking
vast
about San
majority of Pride-
Francisco here.
Okay, San Francisco's extra
Who's-
gay,
yeah,
but the vast
and
majority
extra,
of Pride events.
extra sexualized. It's
no,
a European
gay
city.
is not inherently.
Oh yeah, I got what you mean now. I got what you mean, Santana. Okay, maybe Pride event is a gay orgy. Okay, maybe that's it, right? Some people are into that.
Inherently sexual.
San Francisco is a European city.
San Francisco's
that
in the
is
United
extra
States of
sexual-
America. Come
Yeah.
on now.
Yeah.
It's not a European
And it's
city.
the gay capital. And now that
Base.
has gone everywhere, all over.
I would say
we have
WeHo is the gay
pride in
capital. Shout out
conservative
WeHo.
cities now.
No.
Yes, we do.
But the pride dangers that you're describing, people having sex in the streets, that's illegal. That's illegal. And if
Okay,
someone's
well-
having sex in the streets at Pride, I think they should go to jail. But what we're seeing is that's not happening in the vast majority of cases. And when it is because these are drunk adults outside, and that happens anytime there's drunk adults outside, and we need to...
For fuck's sake, straight peoples! This exact point! Straight peoples! Rape people! Like, straight peoples rape other people all out there on the street. You cannot argue against this fact. There's sexual assault everywhere, not just your LGBTQ plus peoples.
to work to prevent that
Right, well,
and make it
here,
more
here.
safe, more family friendly.
Okay, but
and we
here-
should differentiate
here's
spaces.
the thing,
There should
here's
be
the thing.
adult spaces at nightclubs and family friendly spaces in parks, and we should all have
And all of a sudden, if LGBTQ peoples do it, it's kind of like politicized. Fuck you! Oh my god.
magical
You
pride. and
agree
there
we
sh-
need men for armies? We need men to be men, right? You agree with that?
Gosh, I hate this argument. Men will be men, so you cannot be. Men will be men, so you cannot be trans because that is your nature.
I think we need anyone who wants to serve the American military and is qualified to do so to do so.
You do realize that all men cannot be trans and.
No one is saying all men are. You're not about to become trans if I watch a bunch of trans movies in front of you.
Why do you have to push it on children?
There is no medical research, no psychological research, and no data anywhere in the world over any period of history that shows discussing queer and trans identities, putting queer and trans identities on TVs, I'm about to say it, change children's minds or identities.
It does.
Okay, let's pause.
I feel like you're a good person, but that's just wrong. I get a good vibe, but that's wrong.
How's it going?
Doing well, how are you?
Doing well.
That
So I think the way that the statement is phrased is kind of a straw man. I don't disagree that like Elon or Trump are necessarily doing like I'm not.
So we
focused
agree that
on
Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing
No, I would disagree, but I'm saying that
Why?
I can agree that plane
How aren't
crashes
they?
are I can agree that plane crashes are bad, but then also want to stop car crashes.
Well, car crashes and plane crashes aren't originating from the same source, and this anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric is originating from the very people who are actually grooming our children. So I would label this as a political distraction.
Like, first of all, I think you're gonna have to
Do you
correlate
think
that.
that Donald Trump and Elon Musk love queer and trans people?
No,
Do you think that they use rhetoric that
Well,
is
I think they're very
positive,
liberal,
supporting queer and trans people?
I think they're very liberal, and they
You
don't
think
want it for
Elon Musk and
kids.
Donald Trump are very liberal?
They have a confused ontological view of this issue. So what I'd like to attack in this specific debate is
Yes.
I'd like you to make a truth claim about transgenderism in general, because it seems
Well,
that you
what is
guys.
transgenderism? Because transgenderism is a hateful word that doesn't exist, and we're gonna have to unpack that.
How is
Yeah,
that
I
a hateful
agree.
word that doesn't exist?
I think a lot of people use the word transgenderism is that they want to politicize being transgender. I mean, being transgender is just an identity, but they kind of like making it transgenderism kind of means they want it to mean that it's like a choice, it's like a choice that you take. So it's like you being either a Democrat or a Republican, that's like a choice, right? But being trans is not a choice. Being trans is not a choice. And a lot of people go through with mega struggles every day just because they're born in a certain way. And the only way to get out of that mindset, get out of that mental prison is that you're doing something. You're doing something about it, right? So some people, either it could be like therapy or it could be gender affirming care, because people really don't align with the gender they're born with. That's why they have to do something about it.
Transgenderism
What
is
do you
when
think
men pretend to
transgenderism
be
is?
women.
Okay, that's why it's hateful and doesn't exist.
Okay,
because
so-
men are not pretending to be women. Trans women are women, and I understand. Okay, did you know?
There's a truth claim right there. So trans women are women. So there's a
Booyah.
there's a thing that I would like to put forward to you. There's 4 things that transgenderism could be possibly.
Okay, transgenderism isn't real, so I don't know how to
Okay,
debate
there's 4
that.
things that
Transgenderism. Oh boy, we're gonna have a lot of talk about that.
people could be, or the
Deal.
causation of trans
Deal.
people.
Did
The
you know
first
that they
thing-
have brains more like their gender?
Yeah, I've been through that study. It's obviously fraudulent, but I'd like
No,
to go
it's not.
into.
It's peer reviewed.
Yeah, I know. The scientific and medical establishment, like the study that he
How
brought
many
up earlier-
doctors are in the American Medical Association?
I'm not sure.
How many medical professionals are in the American Medical Association?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
270,000.
Yeah,
They're democratically
I don't really care
elected,
about
and they make
credentialism.
decisions.
I
in a
don't care about
democra-
credentialism.
You don't care about people being
No,
educated.
so I'd like to
and that's
make.
a problem.
I'm trying to attack this point ontologically. I'm trying to get you to make a truth claim about
Okay,
trans people.
let's do it.
The first thing that trans people could make a claim about themselves. There's 4 things. The first thing, and I'm gonna go through them really quick, and then you could respond to them.
That their
The
gender
fir-
doesn't match their birth sex, period.
So the first thing
Yes.
could be
Oh, boy.
a sexual perversion. So that has always existed. Men dressing up like women for a sexual fetish has always
That's not a
existed.
sexual perversion.
That is a perversion.
Is
What-
Rudy Giuliani a pervert?
Yeah.
Really? Okay,
Yep.
agreed.
Alright, this fucking point. People dressing as their opposite birth sex because a fetish. Okay, I'm gonna let them talk a bit more before I comment on that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. That has weird vibes.
So let me just finish.
What
So
about?
Oh, hello. This is why I like formal debates. Yeah, I think most of the debates in here are pretty formal, and at least the host, in a way, Julie B, kind of make it in that way, and you cannot like basically like all those people over here cannot really cannot really echo on this single guy. In a way, it's pretty good. It's not turning into like a circus, at least. I'm another man, and I'm not talking about what they show on TV and say it's formal debates. Yeah, TV is kind of cancer. Like a lot of the TV outlet out there, they always have the agendas. Let's be honest here. Every news article, every news, every news television show always have. They always bias. I'm taking live on school days when you're given set amount of time and no interruption, but time to also rebuild. Yeah, that's why I'm gonna leave them some more time to rebuild on these issues before I comment on anything.
I don't think those claims were substantiated, but yeah.
What
I mean,
about our vice president?
No, he didn't have sex with a couch. That was obviously fraudulent. Some
No.
guy just
What
came
about
up
the
with
fact that
on
he dressed
Twitter.
up as a woman?
That was a Halloween party. So look,
So
we're
you
getting
agree
off
that
topic.
dressing up as
Just
women
let me
is not
just-
always linked
look,
to pedophilia, and what we actually study is that transgenderism is not linked
Dude,
to
I'm
any.
Like, I don't. Do anybody see the issues dressing up as their opposite sex? Because it's not an issue, right? It's not an issue. Let people express themselves, and if you're trans, you're always valid. And it's not even you're dressing in like your opposite gender. You're trans, so you're dressing appropriate according to your gender.
Sort of any sex.
And being trans or dressing up in the opposite sex, it's not a fetish. It's not a fetish. What in the right mind would think that it is a fetish? Maybe, I heard of kinky stuff like being sissy and stuff, but I mean, it's outside the bedroom. Why is it kinky? Why is it sexual in any nature whatsoever? Leave this video a like box.
Sexual misconduct.
Dude,
or
I understand you're
violence.
passionate about the issue. I'd just like to get through these 4 things because other people like to talk. So, the first thing, I think you could admit that some people dress up, like Leah Thomas, for example. He was on the Penn State swim team. We found his secret Instagram account, and he was
Her.
posting. No,
This
him.
is so. Can we just
Him.
at least
It's a
then
guy.
pretend for the conversation? So
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
gonna do
check
that.
you every second.
I won't.
I'm gonna have to check you because that's hateful and that's wrong and it's inaccurate.
It's not- no,
Leah
it's not
Thomas
inaccurate.
lost.
He has a penis.
Leah Thomas lost to cisgender athletes the same year that she won. There's no
So?
inherent
I don't care about
biological
that.
advantage for trans athletes.
Okay.
competing.
Yeah, the classic trans athlete debate. Okay, can we just agree that okay, for all those people who might think trans people could have advantage in sport, how about we just gonna have a new category for trans people? How about that? Like for gender non-conforming people, just have like a categories. So that would be like the easiest solution to fix. But why aren't they doing that? Are they not doing that just so they can politicize the issues and hate on trans people even more? I think that's the issues, right? They could always create a new category, but they choose not to. And second of all, for those trans people who are in hormones, they change themselves biologically. Like for trans women who are in estrogen and they may subtract testosterone for the system, they grow up to be weaker compared to how they were to be. So even hormones change your bodily functions. So if you're trans, you're more in. So trans women are more in line with women's, women's biological sex more than anything, more than masculine people's.
In their sports.
Obviously, there is. Men are stronger than women. I don't
There
care
isn't.
about
They
that.
have
It
to
would
go
still be
through care
wrong.
and standards.
Dude,
the
hold on.
NCAA sets
Just I
specific
understand.
biological
Okay.
standards of care so that you can't just be like, okay, I want to switch
Yeah,
genders.
I understand, and I understand you're passionate about the issue, but I'm trying to
It's
just
not
get through
passion,
this.
it's information.
Men pretending to be women.
Trans women.
Men pretending to be women. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what they always say, doesn't it?
Are not women, and the first claim that I'm making is that
Trans women are women.
okay, you can keep saying it, it's not true.
I feel like I have to.
So I
know it's a
understand.
lot.
I understand. The argument is are
Which is
trans women
heartbreaking.
women, and I'm saying no. So if I call her a woman, I'm forfeiting my entire point.
Well,
so
your
you
point
understand?
isn't
I'm not
valid.
going to say that.
Your point isn't
I don't
valid.
understand what. Yeah, I'm going to prove why it's valid. So men who pretend to be women, either it's a sexual fetish, which I think that you can
It's
agree
not a sexual
at
fetish.
least.
Sexual fetish. Gosh, come on.
It's medically proven not
How you going on about this?
I
to be.
think that you can agree that sometimes it can happen. Transvestitism.
I think some men dress up as women. I think
Gosh,
trans
this guy is not. I don't know if this guy is arguing in a good faith. I don't know. I don't know about that, chief.
they
women
said-
are women.
Okay, that's what I'm claiming. The first thing, that's that. The second thing is a body dysmorphic disorder, right? That's a body, and as laid out
Gender
in the
dysphoria,
DSM-4, yeah.
Gender
And
dysphoria.
still in the DSM-5 when they changed it, there's still a 60, I think it was 65 to 75% overlay between people who identify as transgender and them having gender dysphoria. So my question for you is, if it's a body dysmorphic disorder, if it does exist as a body dysmorphic disorder, why wouldn't you treat other body dysmorphia disorders the same way?
We
Are
tried
you
that
gonna-
with conversion therapy.
are
It
you-
killed thousands of people, and it was
Are you?
I'm not
derailed by
talking
every
about
single
that.
medical
So when I'm
institution in the
talking
world.
about-
That
what-
is the attempt to change
Give
someone.
why not give a tummy tuck to an anorexic person?
Why
You're
not
making
give a
physical
tummy tuck
changes.
to an anorexic
yeah,
person?
you're making physical.
I mean, that's a point I already made, right? That's a point I already made. Like, cis people undergo gender affirming care all the time. Like, for a boy who might born male and they lack hormone deficiency, they go to male hormones if they cannot get it from male puberty.
Physical changes.
People make physical changes all
And
day
that's fine. Why don't we do the same with trans women?
long. There's a higher
Yeah, why not
regret
do it? Why
rate for
wouldn't you do
care
it?
for breast
Trans men.
augmentation,
Why
LASIK
wouldn't
eye
you do it?
surgery, knee replacement surgery, hip
Okay.
replacement surgery,
Why-
than gender affirming care because it's
Well, did you
life-saving
see that?
essential care.
First of all, if you have a body dysmorphic disorder, which is defined in the DSM-4 and the
I feel like I just
DSM-5
gotta fact check you
as
every
a body
30 seconds.
dysmorphic disorder, which is literally the same thing as somebody who has like anorexia. They're confused
That's not the same
about
thing.
their self-perception.
Transgenderism are not the same
I
as
know
people who have
you don't agree
anorexia.
with that, but I'm making
It's a
the
fact.
point. So
It's a
just
fact.
just relax, and then I'll make the point. I understand you're passionate about the issue. You live a kind of
Information.
weird, perverse lifestyle. I
I
understand that
don't
it's
live.
close to
I
you.
live a weird lifestyle. A
I'm
lot of
Again, being trans is not a lifestyle. Being trans is not a lifestyle. You have a lot of mental struggles to deal with as trans people. That's why you kind of have to do this. To live with your gender you're kind of aligned with. So I don't see any problems with. It's not a lifestyle. It's not like you can choose that. I mean, in a lot of ways, like I've been to a lot of trans forum, and what trans people usually say is that if there's like a button that makes them cis, make their body just change into their desired sex, they would do it.
trying
Perverse
to.
one, and
Okay,
not
well,
gonna
It's not a lifestyle. It's not a decision that you choose.
Well,
because I'm awesome.
what perversity is when you deviate from the norm, right? And so if you deviate from the norm, it's perverse. You've perverted the end. So that's not the point. But the actual point is that in reality, a man who pretends to be a woman is not a woman, and it's the same thing if I were to go to the doctor's office as an anorexic and say, "Doc, give me a tummy tuck," because my self-perception is not in line with reality.
But that's
so go
not
ahead,
life-saving
give me a
care.
tummy tuck. Yeah, neither is transgenderism.
It's medically
and-
proven to be.
No, it's not. There was a new Oxford study that just came out in 2025 that proved anxiety, depression, suicidality, and
The
suicide.
Okay, what's the fact check here? Of a study that reviewed records of more than 100,000 patients and those who underwent gender affirmation surgery higher risk for depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and substance use disorder than those without surgery. Study found that the surgery was beneficial in affirming gender identity. Okay, why is there a stat for higher depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations? I think we might need to fact check this more, because the reason why trans people are suicidal and higher risk of depression and anxiety in the first place is because of all the stress that society, their families don't accept them, and society don't accept them, and society gonna do their best to shun them away, to shun trans people away and deny the trans like gender affirming care. And yeah, it's just society that you cannot really go through this stuff without being aware of such issues. Society makes trans people this way because they always want people to fall into under either category of male or female, and if you go over what is like normative, you're being like a scapegoat to society. And that's why trans people experience harassment, trans people experience like denial from jobs, they don't pass job interviews, they get bullied at school, they get harassment in their own house, by their own family. That's why it's such an issue. That's why they are depressed. And we need more studies going directly into that, because that's such a fact.
And all skyrocketed. The reality of the situation,
proves
the reality
that
of the
gender-affirming
situation.
care and affirming environments reduce the rates of
It
suicide,
skyrocketed.
depression.
Exactly. But the authors of Alpha study that say that the results underscore the need for gender-sensitive mental health support. Yeah,
and anxiety.
gender affirming care will solve that. If you went under like surgery and remove the body part that is not belong to you and change your birth certificate, then you will be aligned with the supposed gender that society gonna like put into you. And if you are like that, bravo, you just blend in with the cis heteronormative society, right? And people would treat you better, people would treat you, hey, at least they're transgender, but they are like their biological sex now. Biological sex, quote unquote. But you know what I mean.
In every case,
Just quoting it.
That's time.
Good to talk to you.
My next claim is healthcare costs and gun violence harm young Americans. LGBTQ plus acceptance does not.
Healthcare costs and gun violence young Americans. LGBTQ acceptance does not. Healthcare costs and gun violence harm young Americans. Yeah, I agree on that.
Not.
Hi. I just want to make sure
Can we agree that
yeah.
Let me, okay. I'm gonna be back. I need to go to the bathroom. Okay, you guys, act nice. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Alright. Before we continue though, yeah, patiently waiting. This stream has been really spicy, right? I went to a lot of takes. I think you kinda see, my viewpoint. But yeah, continue on, I guess from here. We already streamed for like 1.5 hours, yet we only go through like 20 minutes of this video. I don't even know if we're gonna finish this video in this stream. Maybe I could do a part 2, but I don't know. Maybe we could just go halfway through and be done with it. But yeah, how are you guys thinking about this stream so far? Where I go into more unorthodox topics, like LGBTQ plus issues. Like I think a lot of people think Vtubers shouldn't be controversial. Like they should only talk about doing karaoke stuff. They should only play video games and be like an idol and be perfect in every way and have like controversial opinion about anything. I don't think VTubers shouldn't be confined themselves to only do those kind of stuff. I mean, if they can, if any people can do differently, from what I've seen, there are a lot of like political VTubers out there. People like I know a few. Like I watch series, and I watched Niara VT, and those are the VTubers, that I watch are politicals. So it does give me some inspiration to, maybe become like some kind of VTubers that talk about politics sometimes, but not all the time. It's not like I would talk about politics all the time, but people like Suris or Niara VT, they might talk about politics all the time. So that's gotta be like my difference compared to them. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? By the way, occasionally we're gonna do things a bit differently, like talk about different issues, societal issues, and maybe like reacting to like controversial content. What do you guys think about that? Should I do this thing? Should I continue doing this thing? What do you guys think? Let me know.
Can we agree that our shared value for this debate should be that all young Americans have safe and healthy childhoods?
Absolutely.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I heard that right. Young
Yeah.
Americans referencing children.
Yes.
So then I want to switch the focus on what the plus represents, an LGBTQ plus.
First, I want to state that gun violence has been the leading cause of death for American children for the last 4 years, and 6 American children die every single day from gun violence, and 4 million young Americans are currently uninsured, which makes them 60% more likely to die, while LGBTQ plus acceptance risks no American children.
I'm not in disagreement with that.
The debate about gun violence, though, it's such an US-centric issue, because the thing when it comes to guns is that it's kind of like ban but white, right? A lot of countries ban guns. I mean, not all the countries. Some countries, still allow guns. Like, I guess Russia, in a way, they kind of like really lax with their gun, with their Russia and Ukraine. They kind of like lax with their gun laws, I think. And probably UK to some degrees, I don't know. But some countries are like kind of lax with their guns too. But when we're talking about guns, it usually is a bit US-centric. I mean, even in Japan, you're allowed to have like a hunting guns if you have permit for it. So to be honest, I'm not really into political stuff, but it's something that I object to either. My audience is not really a political audience, but I kind of do want to talk about politics from time to time. It's kind of like a good way for me to, letting my opinions out to the world and have something to vent to some degree. It's kind of like, it's pretty healthy to my mental health. So doing politics every once in a while probably is not a bad idea. Even though most of you are not really into it, but probably occasionally from time to time we'll change the topics a bit. We'll talk about something serious. I think it's a good thing.
LGBTQ plus acceptance risks no American children's lives.
I'm not in disagreement with that per se, necessarily.
I love that.
But where we're headed, right? That plus is a placeholder for MAPS, for minor attractive persons, minor attractive
No, it
persons.
is not. That would be insane.
Absolutely
Gosh,
it is.
we need to talk about maths. We need to talk about math community because I think the history behind those people who call themselves maths, minor attracted person, they originated from 4chan, and it's basically a psyop. It's basically a psyop created by 4chan in a way. They create the narrative that, hey, pedophile people, pedophile sexuals, people who are attracted to like kids could be belong to the LGBTQ communities too, but all of those was like a psyop, psychological operation started from 4chan of all the places. So minor attracted person unreal, and they are not LGBTQ. Let's just say it.
I'm glad that you think it's pedophilia and it's insane.
Well, it's defined as
but
pedophilia.
I think you understand and you know that your side of the aisle does not feel that way.
No,
That
there is
a large
Who commits the
movement
most acts of pedophilia in the United States of America? I'll give you a hint.
Do you identify the LGBTQ as a political movement?
No, not at all.
See, we're going to fundamentally disagree right there.
Well, why is
So-
why is the LGBTQ plus community a political movement?
It's first of all, it's considered a victim class. Let's start there.
Victim class?
They have
What's a victim class?
They have specific rights and protections.
They have the same rights and protections as all Americans,
That's
or
not
they
true.
should, and we're working to get there.
That's not true.
So what's wrong? Wait, what's wrong with humans being, even though they might be different, to get the same rights and treatment? Are you saying that LGBTQ pupils must have less right compared to normal, quote unquote, normal pupils? Are you saying that should be it? Because, oh boy, we're having issues. If some people might think that being LGBTQ pupils doesn't mean that you have any rights. Hey, thumbnail for my stream. But yeah.
Because right now,
Being LGBTQ pupils doesn't mean it's basically a tactic that they do, right? Divide and conquer. First of all, you divide other people's being like the other group of the other class, and then you strike them down, right? Kind of like what happened to black people in a way. Like, in the past, in the US, black peoples are basically, third-class society, and they've been ostracized by their own society. Either way, there's like black-only toilet, there's black-only bathroom, and a lot of things like black people being separated into like a different social class. And the same thing is like happening to like LGBTQ plus peoples right now. And we need to be against this, like racism is not a good thing, and either homophobia or transphobia, like honestly, like queerphobia in general. So that's my take.
unfortunately, you're right, it's not. Right now, they don't. Right now, LGBTQ plus Americans have less rights and liberties than the standard American.
How do you...
Than heterosexual
Please
cisgender
tell me
Americans.
how they have less rights and privileges.
There's a variety of things. For example, there's legislation in several states that work to prevent trans women from accessing the bathrooms that relate to their gender identity. There's prevention of LGBT.
And they, we have to mention that in the Middle East, they arrest you just for being different. Like if you're being gay, either you're being gay or you're being lesbian or you're being trans, they arrest you all. Like, do you want to live in a place where you live perpetual in anxiety and scared of your own government? I don't think we should normalize that. I really don't think we should normalize that. Like, if you normalize the viewpoint that we should harm people for being different, then what is the difference between that and a fascist regime. And yeah, I know this like a shoot nuke, but what is the difference between othering people who are different than just being plainly fascist? Because that is basically the definition of fascism. Okay, I got a bit heated there. Let's move on. Where the hell am I submit? I do think the movement need to keep to LGBTQ plus, although it should be LGBT plus. I think that LGBTQ is a bit better because it includes queer pupils. Because queer is kind of like a term that encompasses every, like non-straight, non-hetero peoples. So yeah, if you are queer, so the queer label, right, the Q in the LGBTQ means queer, and it kind of means, lesbian, gay, trans, everyone in the other categories, and that even includes like intersex peoples, non-binary peoples, like demisexual peoples, demi-woman, demi-man, every one of that is just on the queer label. So I don't think LGBTQ is like a better term, but that's my take. As I think the full name is making it harder and harder for people to get behind. Yeah, I think LGBTQ is perfectly brilliant. Yeah, some people might argue that, the term might get longer and it's more confusing, but, in a way, it's kind of like ups and down, right? The term is like harder for people to, remember, but in a way, it's kind of like encompass it's inclusive to include every people that belong to like different groups. So LGBTQ, like in that bucket includes like intersex people and asexual people too. But I think LGBTQ is perfectly good enough. Kind of, queer people's kind of like include everyone under, every label. So LGBTQ. Yeah, I agree with you with that one. Not just LGBT, but LGBTQ. It's good. That's just my take.
LGBTQ plus discussion in education. There's efforts right now from our president to work and roll back rights that have been guaranteed to LGBT.
Oh, we could just call ourselves queer peoples, right? What's wrong with just being called queer? Because queer is just basically encompass everyone. But I digress. I guess the movement started being like as the LGBT plus, first, right? But then they decide to add the queer, and that's a good thing.
Efforts right now from our...
Or maybe just call everyone queer. Hey, Aerotops. I guess me the issue with LGBT. Gosh.
President to...
I hope you're secretly gay, Aerotops. Or are you not saying anything with me? Are you like saying anything with me right now?
Work and roll back rights that have been guaranteed to LGBTQ plus Americans for decades, and it's really, really important that we recognize that, because right now LGBTQ plus Americans do not share the same liberties and rights as cisgender heterosexual Americans do, and to pretend that it's not happening is really weird. I would ask you, what rights do you think LGBTQ plus people are asking for that are special rights?
So this is where we're going to fundamentally disagree.
Yeah,
really, because first and foremost, to be quite honest, I believe. And that's not that I believe. I know that the LGBTQ movement...
Sorry, I might be in the Navy, but I'm not gay. Wait, Aerotops. You're contradicting yourself because you said you were into femboys. You said you were into femboys, right? Can we pretend that... No, wait. Why is my soundboard not working? Like what? There we go. You're into femboys. Why are you denying your gayness? Femboys are not gay? We have to argue on that a bit later.
Is a Marxist movement.
I believe it's not a Marxist movement.
I believe it was installed.
It's not a Marxist movement. That's a funny
It's
thought.
not.
It's not a
Finish
Marxist
talking. Let me finish.
What? Do this guy even know what being a Marxist is? Does this guy even know what being a Marxist is? It's a Marxist, just basically socialist, right? I mean, to be a socialist, they kind of like agree with like economical, reason. Like people divided into class and together, they have like class struggles, and that's like a fundamental core value thing of socialist or Marxist. But none of them relate to being LGBTQ. I think they're just putting all of us under one label there.
Okay, it's not a Marxist movement.
Yeah, being a Arados, being a Marxist means you're a power party. Beautiful.
It's not a Marxist movement. That's a funny thought.
I let you finish talking. Let me finish.
Okay, but you're just saying things.
No, I'm not. I'm saying things that I know. I believe you've developed and put yourself in this sort of matrix fictional reality, and you feel safe there. I'm glad you do. But here's the problem. Where we're headed is why I'm concerned.
Where are we headed?
I'm not. I'll tell you where we're headed. We're headed.
Wait. If I remember correctly, I guess the reason why they cannot correlate being LGBTQ to Marxism is that I guess a lot of LGBTQ pupils are like Marxists or socialists. I guess it kind of makes sense because how society treats LGBTQ and how they author LGBTQ plus peoples. And it kind of feels like some sort of like injustice going on in there. And I mean, what's more to love than a government that makes everyone kind of equal, right? That's kind of like attracts. That's kind of like why Marxism and socialism kind of like attract LGBTQ plus people. I think that might be one of the reasons, but we're not gonna get into it a bit further.
Headed towards maps. Whether or not you agree with that is regardless.
What evidence is there that we're headed towards maps?
I mean, I don't treat LGBT pupils different. I just hate women in general. Okay, yeah, that's...
I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Even on the conservative side, they're opening up the discussion on whether or not this can be considered a legitimate sexual orientation.
No one is saying that pedophilia is a legitimate sexual orientation.
Okay, this is important actually that you're saying this right now, because where we're headed, I'm very secure that we're heading this direction. We're at a certain point in time.
That would be really concerning. Then I would understand.
And I agree that we agree with that. But going full circle, okay?
Yeah.
Who started the gay rights movement?
Black trans women.
No, Harry Hay started the gay rights movement in the 1950s. What party did he belong to?
You tell me.
He belonged to the Communist Party. What book and what society?
Okay. Is this a conspiracy theory? I don't know.
What would you say is the LGBTQ plus movement? Because I would define it as a civil rights movement in modern history, whereas you're acting like the existence of LGBTQ plus people. But you're not talking about
because ultimately you're leaning to deconstructionism. You want a gray box society. That's the goal.
What is a gray box society?
Why does this guy sound so angry? This guy sounds so angry, like he's about... Like I feel like he's about to punch somebody in the face.
The fact that you don't know that is exactly the problem. You are compartmentalized
what do you think a gray box society is?
I know what it is. It's a genderless society. It's where the individual is stripped from all individuality. That's what it is.
I think allowing people to express themselves as individuals is more individuality.
Shows me that you're already in the matrix. You're stuck there. You're in
the matrix. Okay, the second they bring matrix, I cannot take them serious anymore.
In this world that provides all these protections for you, the fact that you can even sit here, the fact that this
what extra protections do LGBTQ plus people receive in the United States of America?
Do you want anecdotal experiences?
I want any evidence that you have.
The fact that it even
you don't have evidence.
Even a discussion.
You don't have evidence. It's not a discussion.
It's a section.
That's Joseph Stalin fucked man. Marxist confirmed. Wait, what? Wait, did Joseph Stalin really fuck man? No, look at this. Stalin is not LGBT friendly. Like what? Thousands of gay men were sent to gulags. Yeah. Checkmate. Conservatives. Being Marxist, look, being Stalin. Stalin put a lot of gay people into gulags. And then they said being LGBTQ is Marxist. What can you say about that?
sexual
You saying
orientation.
something doesn't mean
it is
that it's
a
a discussion.
sexual orientation. It should be between
What is
two
a sexual
people.
orientation? What should be?
When it
Sauce, I made it up. What's the sauce of that, Senator? The sauce is that I made it the fuck up.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that it's even a movement to begin with. It doesn't deserve.
There's a civil
to be
rights
a
movement that
It
is
doesn't
described
deserve
as
to
the
be a civil
LGBTQ.
rights.
Yes, Stalin sent anyone into gulag. Let's be honest, hello. Anyone who he taught a threat. So yeah, he basically taught LGBTQ peoples are threats. Okay, I kind of see Stalin viewpoint right now.
It doesn't deserve a civil right. That's my whole point. It's
LGBTQ plus people don't
it's
deserve civil
self-narrative.
rights. I would say that the
The fact
majority
that
of
you can-
American
the
principle
fact-
would disagree
no,
with what
the
you're
fact
saying
that
right
you
now.
can- the
I
fact
think
that you
all
can
people in the United
self-narrative-
States of America are equal, and you
No,
don't.
I don't.
Let's pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your
Yeah. He's being so explosive, like, look at this dude.
Plus people don't
It's
deserve civil
self-narrative.
rights. I would say
He's
that
just so angry. He's so angry. He's not happy, for good
the
thing.
majority of
you can-
American
the
principle
fact-
would disagree
no,
with what
the
you're
Even
saying.
even out the conservatives voting him out, like, holy
Now,
shit.
I
Get the fuck out.
think
that
all
you can
people in the United
self-narrative.
States of America are equal, and you
No,
don't.
I don't.
Let's pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your
I appreciate you.
I'm gonna try to.
Airtops. Dear Princess Celestia, I found Spike reading Joy in the library bathroom today. I had no idea he was the masochist. Please.
Hello. Nice to meet you. I'm Angelina.
Nice to meet you.
Alright, we got a woman. First woman in the center.
So
Can we agree that a
Interesting.
shared value would be young Americans deserve safe and healthy childhoods?
100%. And
Okay,
I
awesome.
think gun violence is an issue, and I think healthcare is an issue.
agree.
However, what I would like to talk about today is children being targeted and transitioned at a young age. I don't believe
What
it is.
children are being targeted in transition?
So currently in the United States, you can start gender transitioning a child as early as they're starting puberty, and that's anywhere from 8 to 13. And so at that age, you
How
can start
many
putting them on
people-
puberty blockers.
Why are you against that? Like children will suffer. Some children will suffer if they're not getting gender affirming care in the early age.
And
Because of how, their brains kind of. I mean, some people kind of argue that they are like mature enough to like make any changes to their operations. But I was like, at least put them on puberty blocker, right? At least if you don't agree with trans kids, first of all, trans kids exist. If you don't agree on that, why don't you just put them on puberty blocker? Because putting kids on puberty blocker, it's just gonna prolong your puberty. And study shows that puberty blocker does not mess with anything and it's entirely reversible. So yeah, why not puberty blocker?
which is not reversible, by the way.
Okay, so
And
how
so-
many irreversible gender-affirming care procedures have been done on ages 13 or under in the United States of America?
Listen, just the idea that you even put them on puberty blockers, that's irreversible. Do you understand that?
Not all puberty blockers.
Puberty blocker is not even... It's not irreversible. It's not. These people are either delusional or they are uninformed.
Are irreversible. New treatments are coming in every day. So
okay,
let me break down the
no,
stats.
no. Puberty blockers. Do you know what puberty blockers are? Puberty blockers is
The sauce is that I made it the fuck up!
Lupron. That is the brand name for puberty blockers, Lupron. Lupron is used on children, 8 to 13-year-olds, to pause their puberty.
Okay, so let's break
It is
this
the same
down.
drug used in chemical castration for pedophiles.
If I thought that
it
8 to
stops their
13
sex
year olds,
drive.
okay, if I thought 8 to 13 year olds would be chemically castrated, that would be horrible. That would be.
Oh yeah, it's true. I was fed puberty blockers as a kid and I never grew boobs. Base.
Evil. That would be unacceptable.
So why-
That's not
why
what's
are
happening.
you
Well, no,
why
let's
is
break
the
it down.
LGBTQ
I would
plus
love to
movement
break it down
advocating
for
for
you.
that?
No one's
Yeah.
That's being a biggest trans fan. No, oh gosh,
Waiting
thanks.
for that. Let's break it down. So, 1% to 3% of the youth population in the United States of America are trans. About 15% of that 1 to 3% receive reversible or partially reversible gender-affirming
What do you
care.
mean by reversible?
Only.
What do you mean by
I'm talking
reversible?
about hormone blockers. I'm talking about
Not
hormone replacement
reversible.
therapy. It is reversible. In many cases, so I understand some of these things are not fully reversible. That's why it's reversible and partially reversible. Some hormone blockers are not fully reversible, but the World Health Organization, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Psychiatric Association work to set standards and approve that all of these cares are life-saving. What we see is that the vast majority of people who receive this care never end up regretting its care. Do you know what the regret rate for reversible care is?
It is true. It is true, and deal with it. I already told you guys, right? Only 2%, roughly 2%, 2% here in Vietnam. Around 1 to 2% here in Vietnam are transgenders. In the state, 2 to 3%, I don't know. Only 2% are transgender. And in all those 2%, only 1% regret the transition.
In the United States of America for transgender youth.
And it's a fact. And these people just making stuff up that there are like a lot of detransitioner, but they only pinpoint on like several cases and some people detransition because society forced them to.
The rate of it
and medically transition costs you money and all of that.
It's enough to not do this to children.
Do you know the rate, though?
It's the targeting of children. Tell me the
Do
rate.
you know the
tell
rate?
me the rate. Please tell me the rate.
The rate is 1%. And do you know what the majority of that 1% rate is? It's due to social stigma and hatred, not actual regret of the...
All right. You told them, lad. You told them.
Listen,
and so what we see
if even
is
one child decides to detransition, that's enough to not do this.
No, it's
children
not.
cannot make decisions. Listen, how can a 12 or 13 you decide you never want to have children?
That isn't happening at all.
You can't.
That's not happening.
Can't.
Hormone replacement therapy isn't sterilization.
That's not
Hormone
true.
replacement therapy,
then why do we
puberty
give
blockers,
Lupron, the same drug we give to children, to pedophiles to chemically castrate them?
That's not what's happening. That's not what we're doing.
You don't think we
That's
give
not
Lupron
happening.
to like pedophiles?
I don't think we're chemically castrating our young American children. All gender-affirming care surgeries have to have a period of time between about 1 to 5 years in which these people are receiving treatment. They are working with medical professionals.
You do not even have.
She just keeps saying not true. Oh my god, this is so comical. This is so comical, guys. This is so comical. I just cannot take this anymore. This is so funny. This is so goofy. We are watching some serious content, not really serious, but it is so goofy. Oh my god. Oh, you know that guy in a cowboy hat gonna come out and say that. Wait, there's a guy with a cowboy hat? By the way, Applejack in My Little Pony is a lesbian. Applejack in My Little Pony is a lesbian. Don't diss on my girl Applejack like that. Come on, Eldos. Come on. Eldos, bro, this chick is the type of person to hit edit pages on Wikipedia to change fathoms. Not the light to a vegan. Alright, dude. Okay, dude.
To go to a psychologist.
That is not true.
Blair White, one of the most prominent trans women
Blair
in America
Wright-
right now, said she had to get no psychotherapy.
Blair Wright, proven to spread misinformation online and in the
Listen,
media. Blair Wright
depression is real.
This is absolute circus right here. This is absolute cinema.
Agreed.
Dysphoria, I agree, is real.
Agreed.
But I don't think the way we treat this
Agreed.
is by just slapping on hormones.
So what
and
happens
puberty
to
blockers.
anxiety, depression, and suicide rates after a young trans person goes through gender-affirming care?
For about a year, it's better, and then after
What about
that,
10 years?
Listen, I don't disagree that sometimes it might be the right decision
in
for someone.
70% of
But for
cases,
children, it's never the right
suicidality
decision.
goes
And let's
down.
talk about
No one is advocating for child.
The conservative is raising the flag. Even they want this girl to get out. Shut the
Decisions
fuck
by
out.
themselves. They're working with their parents to receive parental consent, medical super.
Elder, do you want to debate on Discord? I might just say random unrelated stuff I make up. Man, we could do it in a different stream.
Provision, and they're not happening under the
That'd be funny. What kind of hot takes do you have, Elder? What kind of hot take do you have? Let us see it.
age of 13. And
Not
the
true.
majority of doctors in all cases in the United States of America are telling people not to have a lot of these crucial surgeries until they do.
My hot take is that Rainbow Dash is gay. My hot take is that Rainbow Dash is gay because he has the rainbow hair. Take that, conservatives.
You reach the age of 18.
Then I
Do you
agree
know
with that.
how
What do you mean that Rainbow Dash is not gay? She clearly has a rainbow hair.
many people have had surgery in the United States of America that is gender affirming care under the age of 18 that resulted in any type?
Wait, you think chocolate milk make you gay? Okay, should I eat chocolate milk now? I want to experiment this.
Of surgical transformation of the body.
Tell me.
Do you know the number?
Tell me the number.
0.01%.
So at what number do we
And-
have to get to?
Yeah, 1%. 1% of the population are trans. And 1% of all of those trans people regret their transition. So it's not a lot.
And
to show you that
it
this
ended
ruined
up
their
saving
lives.
their
How many
lives.
double mastectomies do we need to
how many
have?
young people have to tell you that this care is saving their lives before you care?
Listen,
It's saving lives
What's the
every
difference between
single
doing it as
day.
a child and doing it when you turn 18? What's the difference?
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
There's so much of a difference. When you
Tell
go
me.
through puberty, so much of your body and chemical changes so drastically that it creates a lot of the negative experience that leads trans young people to kill themselves. And that is why the World Health Organization, American Medical Association, American Psychological Association, American Psychiatric Association work to agree
That's
that they
why they
understand.
decide to transition in the first place. Yeah, I already say too much about
The
this.
gender affirming care is life-saving care for young adults, for children,
In some
for
cases,
anyone who needs
in some
it.
cases,
And what we're
I'm
not
sure it is.
advocating for.
But when you're a child, you cannot make that lifelong decision.
You can't make it by
alone,
yourself.
In the fact alone that it sterilizes them is enough to say we can't do this until they're 18. In that
It does not
alone.
sterilize young children. You
It
are just
does,
saying
it
things that are
does.
scary.
No, I'm
That's not
And
happening.
even people on your
Let's
side will say
pause.
that's
You've been
true.
voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going?
Sick outfit.
Thank you very much.
Oh boy, it's a guy with a cowboy hat. Okay, Eratos, you're about to meet your match here.
I like your pants.
Thank you very much. So why are we spending so much time talking about life-saving medical care when every
Howdy, partners. Today we're gonna be racist.
single day we're losing young people to lack of medical care and to gun violence?
Okay, well, can I just backtrack? So you initially had
I
said...
prefer to start there.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, I have a point I need to address just so you can understand kind of where I'm coming from in the argument.
Okay, can you answer that question and then we'll get to yours?
Go ahead and restate it.
Why are we spending so much time talking about life-saving medical care when we're seeing young people die every single day due to a lack of medical care and due to gun violence in the United States of America?
So you don't drive a car?
Of course I drive a car, but what we're seeing...
Look at how many people die in car accidents every year.
That's a really special statistic. But what's important about noting is that the vast majority of people who drive cars are choosing to drive cars. The vast majority of people who are being shot to death by guns are not choosing to be shot by death by guns. The 4 million children who do not have access to healthcare are not choosing to not have access to healthcare. They are more likely to die, however, because of a system that they were born into, and that's not fair. That's deadly. It's harming young Americans every single day. Life's not fair, so children should get shot in their classrooms and not have the medicine they need.
No, but they should also have the right to protect themselves in their own home or in their own community. You should have the right to somebody comes into
are
your
being
house.
shot to death every single day by assault
Yes, and
rifles
how many
designed
people
by
have
the
their homes
I mean, there is a reason why other countries ban gun in the first place, right? Or at least... I feel kind of perplexed when it comes to gun issues in America. Because I don't know if over there in America, that children can buy guns. I don't think children can buy guns, right? It doesn't matter, like everyone should agree that children cannot buy guns. But why can't children buy guns in America? Why is that a thing? Maybe, I guess, in the first place, maybe adults can buy guns, their parents can buy guns and then they steal the gun from their parents, but that's a separate issue out of itself. I like the pants. This guy wanna fuck. He looks gay. He looks pretty gay. Let's be honest here. Minus the cowboy hat. Nothing beats banging your cousin and bang of a child shooting some guns. Hell yeah, America. Hell yeah, America. Shooting a school is like going back to the starting area to double. Shooting up school is like going back to the starting area of an RPG to kill all the low levels because of food. not even fair in the first place. It's kind of like, yeah. It's like you're professional PvPers and then you go into a non-PvP area and you murder all the noobs. I mean that's the way, right? That's the way. Do you know why the reason why in RPGs there's like safe zones for like newbies? You know, there are like zones for newbies that is like anti-PvP and you cannot really do PvP in those zones. You know, they exist for a reason, right? You know they exist for a reason. And I mean killing people in the real world. Let's just not pretend that it's like PvP in MMOs. It's taking a person's life. Meanwhile, PvP is just mostly just role playing, you know, even though you're kind of like role playing as like a bad guy, you know, you're killing someone for their loot, but you know, after killing someone they would get revived anyways. But yeah, it's not the same thing as like killing a human being in the real world.
Broken into and they don't.
Out of the awkward moment when you want to take a nap during school lunch near the quiet kids, the death, but can't rest for enemies in your fight. You cannot rest now. Monster is nearby. Yeah, classic.
They don't know how to protect themselves. They don't have the ability to.
Tell me this is.
Why do I hear boss
No,
music?
I'm asking you that question.
Gun violence in the home leads to more death in that home.
Wait, to be honest though, this guy kinda looks like the gay version of Matt Wash. Let's not gonna lie here.
Statistic.
No,
He has the glass, he has the goatee.
I'm asking you that question.
Gun violence in the home leads to more death in that home without burglary. What you're seeing is that gun violence in America goes up because there are more guns in America. There are more assault rifles in America. There are less restrictions that help people who should have guns. And now we're saying, oh, you know what? Everyone have a gun. Let's all have guns. There are more guns in the United States of America than there are people. What there are not is people that are receiving chemical castrations and being sterilized, like other speakers in the circle are saying. Gender-affirming care is medically proven to be life-saving care. And they're working with psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors in all the cases. I am saying that you and I, right here, have no idea what is best for a child in Illinois, in Utah, in Florida. Their parents do, they do, their medical professionals do, and the more that we get in the way of their choice making, we're infringing on parental consent, we're infringing on medical privacy, we're preventing young people from receiving life-saving care.
You just said their parents have the right to make those kinds of choices.
To help them make those choices.
But isn't your party the one that says if a kid says that they're gay at school, that the teacher shouldn't go and tell the parent? Well, the Democratic Party. I'm
not a member of the Democratic Party. However, I would say that much of the Democratic Party's stance versus the Republican Party's stance makes more sense because it's grounded in evidence that saves young people's lives.
Out of the picture when it fits the case, and then now all of a sudden you think the parents should have that kind of say. I don't understand.
No one is saying parents should be removed from the children's lives.
That's essentially what they argue when they.
No one's arguing that. If a parent is a direct threat to a young person's life, then that needs to be evaluated. But that's not happening in the conversation.
Well, what do you consider a direct threat? I guess that's the thing. I mean, there's
how many trans people are transitioning without the support of their parents?
Right. Gosh, this is real. Like trans people. I mean, like trans kids exist, and they seriously consider that gender since they're growing up. But the problem is that society makes it so hard for them, and the hardest part is their family. Their family doesn't accept them in the first place. And why do they not accept them? Because they're just being different. Because a lot of family members kind of want to see their kids being a certain way. But lo and behold, surprise, surprise, they don't really grow up in a way that you see them to. Like, people do that all the time, like kids growing up. Some kids want to be engineer, some kids want to be teacher. Meanwhile, their parents kind of want them to become a doctor. And what is stopping their kids to, to be doing other careers than just not being a doctor? Why do parents always set like boundaries to their kids? Like, can we just let kids be kids? Can we just let kids be kids? And it's way healthier that way, right?
In the vast majority of cases, trans people are supported by their parents. In all cases in the United States where surgery was done, parental consent, medical supervision, and psychological supervision were there.
When you say all, I already know that's false, because nothing is a perfect 100%. Like that already is just, that invalidates everything you're gonna tell me with statistics. When you say all, I know that's, maybe you're right, maybe there's a lot, but when you say all, that's it.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Cool.
Please return to your chair.
I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Man, everyone just get voted out.
Hi.
How you doing, man? Joshua.
How does LGBTQ plus acceptance harm more young Americans in gun violence and healthcare costs?
So, define harm. What does harm mean to you?
To me, harm would mean reducing quality of life or ending the life.
Okay, so the word of harm, it doesn't have to necessarily mean physically. You
No,
can
of
harm
course not.
somebody by spiritually, mentally, and all of the above.
Entirely agree.
Right. So when we
And what
go,
we see is that when we support and affirm LGBTQ plus acceptance, depression rates, anxiety rates, and suicidality rates go down significantly. 60% is the rate of change in suicidality rates when we see LGBTQ plus people being accepted. Suicidality.
honestly, that's not necessarily true because
it's 100% true. It's a medical fact.
You could say that, but
Well,
if you really want to if you really want to go to realization, when they do transform to LGBTQ, their anxiety actually goes up. Because
that's not what's happening.
Well, why you?
So let's break it down, because I understand that this would be horrible and it's very scary and the talking points out there a lot and it's very confusing. What's happening is that LGBTQ plus young people experience higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidality because of the way they're treated in society, and that's a medical fact that's been studied for years. What we see is that when there is more queer and trans representation, more queer and trans discussion, more queer and trans affirmation, that
this is why queer representation matters in media. It just matters, period. Well, I guess for a lot of people, it's like they kind of feel like, hey, why does queer representation matters? And please stop shoving this, on our face. But it's not that we are shoving queer propaganda on your face. It's not like that. I mean, representation kind of matters in media, whether you like it or not, because there's a lot of people out there who might not want to see it, like people who might be living differently, like for example, I bring this a lot, but trans people or gay people, they see their representation in media. For example, My Little Pony has some gay, canonically gay, may I add, characters in it. And they even have like trans characters at some point. But for a fact that people kind of see this and they kind of feel like, and some of them kids may grow up gay and they see, hey, I can see, this cartoon has some gay ponies in it. Maybe I'm not alone, and maybe this is legitimately some issues. This legitimately the things that some people's gonna go through. It makes them feel, accepted. And, I mean, in a way, conservative might consider this grooming, but it's not really grooming. I mean, we're just showing them kids, those stuff, and they realize it all by themselves. It's not grooming. I mean, if they are always gay or if they're always trans and they see, the characters that represent them, that's do more good than harm. Let's just be honest here.
Suicide rates, depression rates, and anxiety rates go down. And so if it was innate within the queer and trans identity to be depressed and anxious, the more queer and trans discussion there were, the more queer trans people there were, the more that we would see anxiety, depression, and suicidality. Instead, what we see is that it is only when we accept, affirm, and educate about LGBTQ plus identities that these rates go down, because it's not a symptom of being queer and trans, it's a symptom of hatred, it's a symptom of anti-LGBTQ plus policy, which is harming young Americans.
Explain about the LGBTQ plus.
Well,
Doesn't
no.
that go
What do you
with-
think about what I just said?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Fantastic.
But explain about the plus though with the LGBTQ plus, right?
LGBTQ plus stands for the fact that, for example, intersex people, they don't have a letter in LGBTQ. Asexual people, they don't have a letter in LGBTQ. See, it's hard to say. I would say queer and trans. I
Yeah,
think
okay.
queer is an
Queer and
all-encompassing
trans.
term,
Okay, so
and trans is inclusive as well.
Let's talk about intersex, right? So intersex itself.
LGBTQ plus.
Well, intersex itself, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with the label LGBTQ plus. I mean, Q means queer, right? And queer just represent all the difference out there. Everyone is like queer in some way, you know, except you that you're like straight or hetero. But you know, if you are other than that, you're queer. So queer is pretty much an umbrella term that you could just use, or maybe you just say queer people. Yeah, just say queer people instead of LGBTQ plus or QIA plus or QIA2S. It's kind of long. Even I agree with this fact, you know.
That still does not make a third gender. The chromosome itself, it still identifies a male if it has a Y chromosome, still is a male. And
Oh god, this biological argument. Oh, by the way, this woman might look like they are women, but they are men dressed as women, and they have XY chromosome. Okay. If that's what your definition of being a woman is, I mean that's your definition, but that is not our definition, or that is not everyone's definition. You just see someone. Most of the people, even though they are not part of the queer group, right? They see people, and they think, hey, this person looks feminine. Hey, this person looks masculine, must be a man. This person looks feminine, must be a woman. Or this person would looks a bit of both. Maybe they are androgynous. But to be honest, it's best for us to not put labels on people's and, you know, just prefer people's as, you know, other people's. They might look feminine or they might look masculine, but, you know, some people, most people are different, but, you know, most people kind of either see the word as black and white and, you know, trans woman are woman, trans men are men. There's nothing more to say about that.
Many people that are born XX that would have what you would describe as male reproductive organs, right? There are many people who are born XY that actually have female reproductive organs because chromosomes themselves don't define biology. Sex is actually a biological character.
And that proves the fact that intersex people exist. Because either you're born with like chromosomes, like believe me, I have an intersex friend, and they say that they were born with XY chromosome, and sometimes chromosome just doesn't really work that way. It doesn't just, you know, like XX chromosome or XY chromosome. Sometimes chromosome could be a bit different, like that's why intersex people exist. But honestly, to define someone being a woman or being a man just by your chromosome, first of all, why do you think you should prove a people's chromosome? Like, you cannot see people's chromosome just by looking at their appearance. You cannot really see it. Like to take some trans people, really, some trans people, like some trans people, especially if they pass really well, they just pass at their opposite, you know, they just pass at their desired gender, and society will always treat them as their gender, and chromosome has like zero factor on that. Like, who are you to check on people's chromosome, and how do you even think that you could even check people's chromosome? It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, folks. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Hold on. My sperm is a man. Well, biologically, sperms are either. I guess sperm is either male or female. I don't know the biology of sperm. So how do people have the energy to give a fuck about this? I don't know, but they give a fuck about chromosome. I don't know. It's just so redundant.
Characteristics
XX
that
is
chromosomes
woman.
are a part of, and we also see that it has to do with hormones, and it has to do with sexual organs on the inside and outside of the body. And so it's not a singular thing that can be defined. There are 40 different chromosomal structures. It's not just XX and not XY. There are so many different people that fall within the intersex category, and that's why gender affirming care
See, I was about to bring. I did brought the intersex argument first.
originally existed was to help these people receive the medical care that they needed. What we're seeing is that it is so essential to help people be who they are, and it saves their lives when you do that.
Regardless of what you're saying, the chromosome.
Let's pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Let's be honest. Even other conservatives see the chromosome argument is a bit stupid.
Hey. Doing well, how are you?
I'm okay. Okay, so your original claim was that gun violence
and healthcare costs harm young Americans.
Sure.
LGBTQ plus acceptance does not.
Okay, so I agree with the first half.
Okay. What's your disagreement with LGBTQ plus acceptance and how it does not harm young Americans?
So I think that first you can look at anything, teaching any young people something that's just fundamentally not true.
Okay, well, it is a fundamental truth. What we see is that intersex, queer, and trans people have existed throughout all time, every continent, every single culture and society. The very first civil society, ancient Mesopotamia, had queer and intersex people.
Oh yeah, there was evidence about this. I did research a bit about history of Mesopotamia. Trans. There was transgender non-binary peoples all the way back in, like ancient Babylon or something. Yeah, there is. You could Google this, but I wouldn't bother going through this.
What we're seeing is that they existed in ancient China, ancient Egypt. They've existed everywhere throughout all time.
In China they have eunuchs, right? I guess they have eunuchs, and they're like other peoples living in different cultures, like mixed with peoples. They have like third genders and stuff like that. And in India they have the other third gender, and in Thailand as well. And we have like two-spirit peoples in the Native Americans.
It's not a matter of, I don't even know what you're saying.
What? That's because I didn't really say anything. You just kind of went off.
Well, you just said that they're not real. Well, no, you said that they're not real, and that's enough to draw concern. Because it's like,
and ancient Greek was gay as well. Let's just not pretend that ancient Greek is not gay.
Talking about.
People can rewind about 25 seconds and they'll see that I didn't say that.
What did
I
you
didn't say
say?
that they're not real. I'm saying we're teaching people
things that aren't
young
real.
people things that are not true. For instance, we're teaching boys that they can be girls. That fundamentally I think is unsafe.
Boys can't be girls. Trans girls can be girls.
Trans girls can be trans girls, right? And I wouldn't disagree with you that they don't exist. They're human beings. You're a human being. I love
Okay,
you.
so this guy argued that. Okay, so this guy agreed that trans woman, a woman.
Okay, well, that's a dub. We'll take it from there.
That's a dub. Nice. This guy agree. Okay, trans woman, a woman. Are we agreeing on that? That's great. Big W for this guy. Big W.
Okay,
Let's take that. That's a dub. People are people.
We see
all
each other.
exist.
We're human beings, right?
I love that.
Okay, but within that, there are still things we can teach people that can harm them. I think that
I agree. Teaching hatred harms people. Teaching people not to accept people harms people.
Sure.
But teaching about LGBTQ plus identities saves lives. It reduces anxiety and depression.
I guess my only question really would be, if you're going to say that their suicidal rates and depression rise because people aren't affirming like gender, right?
Which they are.
Where are all the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of suicides that just went unexplained the last 150 years? That
They're
were just
happening
people, we
all
weren't
the
affirming
time. It's
people for
heartbreaking.
decades.
They're happening all the time. And
You're
it's
saying
heartbreaking.
there's mass graves of people who weren't gender affirmed in 1920.
Trans people don't
that we
all
just-
get together and commit suicide together and then say, we were trans the whole time. These are people that never came out as trans because of the hatred they experienced, felt that they could never be themselves, and killed themselves. And we're seeing this happen all
Society pressure on trans people is a big match, don't you think? Like, I will say that for a couple of times in this stream, but gosh, sometimes you cannot just get into the school.
Time, and it's heartbreaking. It's
We're seeing
devastating.
an increase in. There is more
We're
gender
seeing an increase of
affirmation
transphobia,
today
and so
than
we're
there
seeing
was.
an increase in the rates of anxiety and depression amongst unaffirmed, uncared for trans individuals. When trans people receive gender affirming care or have access to affirming environments, we see suicide rates go down, anxiety go down, depression go down. Explain
Yeah,
that.
I don't agree.
It's a
there are-
fact.
Okay, well, there are two studies. There's one from April 2024, 24-month study, one from February 2025.
What were the
and
studies done by?
They can fact check it. I don't remember off the top
I'm
of
going
my
to cite
head.
a lot more studies.
Okay.
But you
let's
can.
Pause. That's time.
There were studies that you should look into.
I have. Thank you. My next
I guess that guy did cook for a bit.
claim is that anti-LGBTQ plus policies are anti-Christian and
Anti-LGBTQ plus policies are anti-Christian and anti-American. Yeah. I mean, the thing about Christian is that Christian, there's like a fundamental things for Christian, right? Is to love your neighbors, love thy neighbors, right? That's what Christian always say. Like, what is the reason? What, like, if you're a real Christian, right? If you're a real Christian, if you hate someone just because they're different, I guess you're fundamentally anti-Christian. That could be a thing. And there are like, I think there's like a lot of progressive Christian out there, but there's like a lot of progressive Christian out there, and they are Christian who are like the most bigoted person in the world. Which is, personally, I'm kind of like irreligious. I don't believe in any religion. My family is Buddhist, so, but I'm not really, I'm not really that much of a Buddhist. Sometimes I do think reincarnation exists though, but that is like different topics. But yeah,
anti-American.
it's really anti-American though, because you're against freedom. And you know how Americans are with the freedom. America, for you.
Got my running-on shoes today.
You are fabulous.
You are fabulous. So let's start with the less obvious. Let's go anti-American. What is like your point in saying that? How is it anti-American to say that protecting our children, right? Our children is our only thing we have. It's the future, right?
Agreed.
How's that anti-American? When
Protecting our children would not be anti-American.
Okay, but the LGBTQ policies, anti those, right? You're saying is anti-American.
Yes.
When you think of children, right?
Yeah, you're anti-freedom.
Well, I have a 9-year-old. Right.
I think of the future.
Okay, the future, right? Do you have a child?
No, I don't.
Do you want children?
Maybe.
Okay, all right, so good. You want to have a child, and you want this child to be what? Protected, correct?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me through that? Okay, good. When you think of your child being protected, what is an issue you don't agree with? What's something you don't agree with?
Gun violence and healthcare costs.
Okay, gun violence and healthcare costs. Do you come from a family that didn't have healthcare?
I come from a family that struggled with healthcare access, but had healthcare access for me.
That makes sense. Okay, so you had it. So you don't want your child to be negatively influenced by gun violence, correct?
Correct.
Or by not being able to have access to healthcare.
Absolutely.
So if there is an agenda, and I know you say there's not an agenda, but if there is a mass media awareness that's pushing a narrative of saying, and we kind of see it, right? Guns in all the movies, right?
Yeah.
Guns in the music videos, guns in this, rap, hip hop songs, all the stuff. You probably...
Okay, this woman might be against gun violence, and she's trying to push that hey, media is pushing all this violence. And it would go to media is pushing all this LGBTQ. Media is pushing all this LGBTQ propaganda, isn't it?
Probably not.
Isn't it? Is that gonna happen? Let us see.
Child to be exposed to that, correct?
No, I would make sure they're educated about what guns are, and I would make sure they're accessing this information in age-appropriate age. That's a false comparison because...
Why is that a false comparison? It's this rap, hip-hop songs, all this stuff. you'd probably not want your child to be exposed to that, correct?
No, I would make sure they're educated about what guns are, and I would make sure they're accessing this information at age-appropriate age. That's a false comparison because
Why is that a false comparison?
guns aren't people.
Okay.
And people in their intrinsic identities aren't murderous. Guns are designed to kill things.
Yes.
LGBT
But
plus
it's still-
people are designed to exist.
Exactly. That's a fundamental difference. Being LGBT is not equals to having guns and kill people with it. Leave LGBTQ people alone. You fucking sicko. Now they're comparing being LGBTQ to murder. Like that's a dumb argument. That is a dumb argument. They always compare, but the comparison is not equal. However, though, I used to be religious, but a lot of people from church use religion as an excuse to be a terrible human. I know. What happened with? I mean, Christianity says a lot about like love thy neighbor, right? What happened to that? Why do they always use the worst thing, in their religion to hurt people? Like why?
And live and love and
They're
earn
humans,
money
correct?
and work and be people. Yes.
Okay, they're humans. All
Absolutely.
right, so let's go with that. We'll take that angle. So you're talking about humans, and you're saying that humans are designed to be themselves, right? And intrinsically themselves.
Yes, we're getting so far away from
No,
the claim,
we're
though.
coming back
Okay,
because you're
back.
talking
I
about
believe you.
anti-American, and I said I
Yes.
gave you that example of guns. So for me as a mom, I don't want my child, and I'm just going to say the alphabet community because it's easier than LGBT.
What about queer and
Can I say
trans?
that?
I think queer and trans
Okay.
is easier.
Queer and trans. All right. So I don't want my son exposed to queer and trans. You didn't say you don't like the word agenda. I'm trying to be nice and
Queer and trans people.
Queer and trans people. Okay, I don't want him exposed to that. I'm
Why?
a Christian and I'm faith-based.
Why? Wait, you don't want your kids to expose to queer and trans people? But they just exist. They just exist. So is our existence is like illegal now? Is it illegal? Is it illegal to exist as queer and trans people? Is it illegal to exist? So we are illegal to exist now. Okay, I guess I have to kill myself. that's why that's technically the reason why queer and trans people feel suicidal in the first place, because society keeps pushing that our existence is heresy, something like that. But all this is just ridiculous, isn't it? Like, we just don't really have the fundamental human rights that other peoples do.
And I believe
I'm Christian
that
too.
my son should have his testicles intact until forever, not until he's 18. I want him to have his testicles forever. And he actually just asked me about that last night. He said, Mom, I think my testicles are dropping a little. I said, no, sweetheart, you're 9, enjoy, you got a long ways to go. Why? As parents, we want to protect our children as long as they can.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Okay, you agree. We are in agreement with that.
Yeah,
Yes, I love that.
100%.
All right, so let's keep
Go
going.
team.
I would never, in my right mind, let my son, first of all, attend a school, a public school. Second of all, attend
That's
a school.
a privileged choice, and that's
where
awesome that
they're-
you're able to make it.
Correct. And I've worked very hard for that. Where there are clowns, as you called them, drag queens there.
No, I made a comparison that clowns are entertainers and drag queens are entertainers.
But they are very much so different. A clown is
Depends on the
what my-
context.
Okay, let me finish. Let me just describe and then we'll
Drag
go back.
queens.
No, we're not. We're
They always bring back the drag queens.
talking
Drag
about-
queens! They are channeling the kids!
talking about an agenda here,
course.
and you're talking about it being
And making the frogs
anti-Christian. I'm saying that that's not the
No,
truth.
I'm saying anti-LGBTQ plus policies
Yes.
inherently contradict the fundamental
it
values of
doesn't.
Americanism and Christianity.
It doesn't,
But what
because-
is the fundamental value of America?
Okay, well, we'll go back to Christianity, but let me finish my point, as you said you would. Okay, so I'm not
America, freedom.
letting my son be
Yeah.
exposed because you're kind of in denial, sweetheart. You're saying that a clown is the same thing or same humor. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish, please, dear. As the same as a drag queen. And I know for a fact what comes, if you just Google the word drag queen and children or kindergarten, you see what goes on. Those shows, the girls are in, or the men rather, are in lingerie, in scantily clad, very, very sexually explicit behavior, crazy hair and makeup. And right, and it happens, as well as the infiltration of the books in our children's school. These
What's wrong with being in crazy hair and makeup as long as it's not sexual? And drag queen who talks to children are not sexual. Only the one who's like perform in nightclubs and underground places are like, sexual. Drag queens in themselves are not sexual.
Trans books are being put into our kids' school.
I mean, the one who's talking to kids anyways.
I know for a fact. That's why I pulled him. I saw these books in there. You said yourself, if you had a child, you would not want him exposed to things that you didn't approve of, or you'd want him to be, quote, educated as to what is right. Why do we have to educate children to mental health challenges when men decide to castrate themselves and take off their genitals and reattach new genitals, and then they demand...
Gosh, fucking... Now she's just being transphobic at this point. There's no helping her.
Equal rights. That's not okay. And I'm not letting my child get exposed to that. That is anti-Christian, and that is anti-American.
Okay, so I don't find that to be a claim that addressed my claim at all.
Okay.
I would say that the fundamental value of Americanism is freedom, and the fundamental value of Christianity
Freedom
is
to
love,
what?
and anti-LGBTQ policies are contradictory to both of those
Okay,
beliefs. But back
God
to
is
your
what?
point, because you took us there.
Okay.
The majority of drag queen book hours have never had a reported incident. In fact, there's no pattern of reported incident, and there are cherry-picked incidents where bad people did bad things, not because they're drag queens, but because they're bad people. And
So
those
why are we
incidents
allowing
occur
it?
in
So
less
why
than
are we
1% of
even
places.
allowing this?
So what I would say is that drag queens have no statistical correlation with pedophilic behavior, with sexual violence, or
That's not true. That is not true.
hold up in the club,
Okay.
or in sexually exposing themselves to
I don't go
children.
to club. What
I think
about-
clubs are
you
fun.
said
Okay, we're
faith-
getting so
no,
far away.
American
Hold.
and faith-based values. Let's go back to that.
Oh.
American faith-based values. Why the trans movement is not that, or is antithesis of that?
Trans people are people. What I'm telling you is that if your child is exposed to trans and queer individuals, they're no more likely to decide to become trans or queer.
Not true.
Nope, it is true. It
Not
is
true.
statistically proven. It is so true. It is data driven. It is
Okay,
medically
keep going,
proven.
keep
It is
going.
psychologically
I'll let you
proven.
believe it.
Gosh, just let people exist. Is it so hard to let people have human rights? This is why we cannot have human rights in the first place, isn't it? Because people like this.
It's
Lie,
proven.
go ahead.
Statistically proven. It is so true. It is data driven. It is
Okay,
medically
keep going,
proven.
keep
It is
going.
psychologically
I'll let
proven.
you believe
It
your
is
lie. Go
proven.
ahead.
No. It's proven by hundreds
Go
of
ahead.
thousands of people, and I have no idea why you believe when you're not educated on the subject.
Not
that-
educated.
well, no, not in a you don't know what you're talking about way, but in a
I
you
do
need
care.
a medical professional. You need a psychological professional
don't need
to
one, but
address
you
this
might.
care. No, to address this care. What I'm saying is that your child is not endangered by witnessing
That
queer
is
and trans
not
existences.
true.
It is true.
That is not
It
true.
is
Let me give you an
true.
example.
This is literally the viewpoint of some conservative have. Like, they just think people's being different should not exist. Like, what the fuck?
If you want. Let's pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to
Thank
your
you.
chair.
Hope you don't hate me.
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Tight
Perfect.
suit.
Thank you. So, first off,
Oh my god. Why does this guy look like Nick Fuentes? This guy looks like Nick Fuentes.
would like to say that you're
Oh, Erdos. You got a point there, but I could have cut my balls. Base transmit, Erdos.
your question, I think, is worded very how do I put it?
It's not a question, but I'm saying
Your claim.
anti-LGBTQ plus policies are anti-Christian and anti-American. Which would you like to start
Yes.
with?
So, can you define for me what anti-LGBTQ is?
Yes, policies that are against the LGBTQ plus community, hence anti.
Anti. Okay, so could you tell me
Shout
what
out
it means
Rihanna.
by against it? Like, could you give me an example of what?
So what? I look at this guy and I can imagine Nick Fuentes. But he doesn't have the voice of Nick Fuentes. This is so much deeper.
Legislation that is anti-Christian, that is also anti-LGBTQ.
Can you give me examples? I would say because I am a Christian and I'm LGBTQ, policies that go against me are anti-Christian. And I would say because they contradict the fundamental values that we were taught as Christians, that they are anti-Christian. So a couple of things. One, we were told to follow the Holy Spirit beyond the text. We were told that throughout life, while God's word is perfect and true, man's interpretation and understanding of it is not. For example, slavery, can we agree that's wrong?
Yes.
Interracial marriage, can we agree that's beautiful?
Yes.
Fantastic. Can we agree that we both should be able to eat shellfish and pork?
Yes.
Fantastic. We continue to evolve our understanding when we have new information and perspectives. Jesus Christ incarnated not to tell us follow the Bible, but to help us understand it better. We once understood eye for an eye. Now we know it's turn cheek for cheek. And we were also told to measure people by their fruits. LGBTQ plus people bring love into the world. They benefit the economy. They bring safety into the world, while anti-LGBTQ plus policies are proven to bring more death, more anxiety, and more depression. I'm not saying I don't understand your fear and concern. I'm saying when I rely on the data,
and they contribute to society. It's not like they sabotage society in any ways.
Evidence and the professionals, these policies kill children.
I do not believe so.
But they do.
So looking at Christianity, because you're the one who brought it up, in Matthew 18:6, Christ says, if any of you causes one of these little ones to stumble, it is better that a millstone is tied around your neck and you drown in the depths of the ocean.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Not that they should be, but it's that it's better off that they would be. So what I'm trying to say is that...
But you can't say that people are misguiding children by informing them about people that exist when there is no data that that information causes young people to become queer and trans. The rise of young people identifying as queer and trans comes from more affirmation and safety. So no one becomes gay. It's medically proven and it's been backed by data that you cannot, no matter what you do, turn someone gay. You can't do it.
How are they gay then?
I mean, it would only be if they see it in themselves, right? They would only be gay if... I mean, the thing about gender identity and sexuality is that it's like a never-ending journey. So, for example, I might be more straight. I think I might be more straight in the past, but now I'm pretty much realized that I am a bisexual with a preference for men. So I think how do you say this? Sexuality and gender identity, pretty much a never-ending journey. But wait, what do I?
You cannot, no matter what you do, turn someone.
Yeah, you cannot. So I don't think you can influence somebody. Yeah, I mean, you could tell them that. Hey, I could tell them that I could make them aware that trans and gay people exist. Because from when I look at media and I see gay people and bisexual people exist, I know that doing something like that is not wrong. So that's why it's really important for a lot of people to tell other people that this exists, and that doesn't really mean that you're like convincing them that they're gay or forcing them to become gay. But it's just awareness for the most part. Just awareness and they decide. All of them decide on what they should become.
Gay.
So how are they gay then?
You can only decide yourself to become what you want. Not everyone. I mean, the real issue is that society is forcing us to be straight and cisgender. That's the real crux of the issues here. Not the other way around.
Biological characteristics.
So it's like
something that just
it's
happens.
in their genetics, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, so how...
Oh, Eric, I turn out a woman, I act out gay, back straight. There you go.
Could you spread the gene?
I guess it could be true. I guess.
Of being gay, if you're gay. Like, I'm straight because my dad and my mom
Maybe
are
not
straight.
genetics. It's in the biochemical reality of human existence. It's not something that's taught. It's not something that can be changed in an experience, and that has been proven throughout
Okay,
time.
so the only thing that we're born with essentially is going to be our genetic code, which our parents passed down from us, and then after that we have a blank slate of mind, and whatever is put into that blank slate of mind will alter our personality and our person. So you're right, there is no gay gene because it's non-existent. It's an inferior genetic. You cannot pass down the genetics of being gay if you're gay, which is why I believe that people are being groomed to become gay.
Actually, I think there was a study. I think there was a study that transgender people do have like an inherent genetics. I don't know if it's true or not, but
whether it happens when they're 2 years old, 10 years old, 13 years old.
you cannot really argue that's grooming in the first place anyways.
Whether it's from the LGBTQ agenda, which I believe you and your allies are pushing, or if it's
Who are my allies?
Who are your allies? I mean, I'm not very familiar with your work, but I understand that you are an LGBTQ activist. So I would say your allies are people who align with your values, at least a 90%
So
overlap.
I am an activist, and I work on political reform in the state of Florida, focused primarily on school boards because they are currently attacking our children and they hold massive political opportunity to actually revolutionize the state. And I'm LGBTQ+.
So how are these school boards attacking children in Florida?
You want to go there?
I would like to hear your claim on this.
Let's do it. Okay, bet. So school boards in the state of Florida and all throughout the country have actually been a listed part of Project 2025, as they stated, because they are politically vulnerable spaces that have low voter turnout, low community awareness, low...
Speaking of which, like, cause Project 2025, there's like so many horrible things get signed on Project 2025. And most of all, it's like related to LGBTQ plus and trans people in general. And some of the contents in Project 2025, I really cannot recall what they kind of said there, but a lot of them are like directly fascistic to some degree, and to a certain degree that it was too extreme, to a degree that some conservative kind of argues that oh wow, Trump is just joking about it, he's not gonna implement Project 2025. Now look what's happened. A lot of things in Project 2025 got passed, and basically America is like in chaos right now.
That is disproportionately easy when you...
That's, by the way, when I was in high school, I thought I was gay because I had a crush on a dude who I was friends with bass. I thought I was bi. But I thought I was bi. Turns out I'm demisexual. I mean, you could be bi, you could be both bi and demisexual though. Actually, me, myself, I'm both bisexual and demisexual. So, if you guys don't know, demisexual means that you are attracted to people's personality rather than their looks. So, yeah, you could be both bi and demisexual. I mean, if you're like demisexual in a sense, you kind of like looks doesn't really matter to them, so maybe you could be into mostly girls, but maybe you could be like bi. You could be like bi because you don't really care about people's appearance, including their genders, right? So, probably some demisexual people would still not be bi, but I would argue that it's like different compared to like bisexuals.
We take lots of money and invest them into the elections to change the results.
It's like a separate thing.
So a couple of years ago, we saw a massive sweep from candidates
But yeah,
from Moms for
based.
So a couple of years ago, we saw a massive sweep from candidates from Moms for Liberty and far-right hate groups. We also saw Ron DeSantis become the very first governor in our state's history to endorse these candidates.
But you've been
These
talking about
candidates
this for about a
pushed
minute.
anti-LGBTQ plus policies, which
Like
are
what?
anti-Christian and
What have they
anti-American.
done? What have they done that harms children?
They banned books throughout the state. They told people that...
Do you know what happened? You know what happened to Nazi Germany in 1940? They burned out the books. They burned out the LGBTQ books. And they banned libraries, and look what happened.
Not use restrooms. No.
Erotica.
Okay, we always should ban pornography in our schools. Pornography in our schools
erotica
would be evil.
as well.
Erotica in our schools is not acceptable. What we see is age-appropriate leveled reading that discusses topics that some might find uncomfortable.
And yeah, basically the argument that conservative had is like LGBTQ is sexual in nature. just because, just because some people are gay? Like, why is being gay, like, sexual? Like, why? I just don't see the point. I guess conservative might see it because it's like freak of nature, and gay people tend to have like orgies, but some gay people, just exist without like sexual relations. Like, I guess they just don't realize that being gay doesn't mean you would fuck men all the time. Like, what the heck?
Okay,
It means you're attracted to men. That does not mean that you want to fuck men all the time. Like, what? So, like, I think I'm trying to dissect like conservative viewpoints here, but it ended up kill my brain cells. I mean, I don't find people attractive unless I like them. Yeah, pretty much I do the same thing, yeah. Base. Doesn't matter on gender. Yeah, base. Double base. But I also don't care enough.
But that is
LGBTQ
measured by
stuff,
psychology.
which includes being gay, which is a
I would say you would
sexuality,
find being
which is
gay
sexual.
uncomfortable, whereas I would say it's a reality. And
Well,
I
being
would say
gay
that someone
is
should be able
being
to read about it.
homosexual, which is a sexual thing. That is erotica, because you're talking about
No,
sexual
being queer
things.
isn't inherently sexual. I'm not having sex with you
Yeah.
right now because
I think watching more of this gonna give me brain tumor. I really do think so. So yeah, I think we've been streaming for a while. I mean, we just went to like more than half the videos, but I think when it comes to like political topics, we could cut the stream to be a bit shorter. So yeah, everyone, I don't really want to continue anymore because watching conservative argument really actually give me brain damage. So yeah, I'm gonna see if there's any people that I can bring on Twitch. Thank you for hanging out with me, by the way. We did have a lot sometimes, although I have to apologize that I have to apologize. We did have. Gosh, hold on. I need to mute my own tab. I do have to apologize that I, was missing in action last week because of computer issues. Okay. Rate. Movie rating. Comfy fast and massive effect. Massive effect is streaming? Oh, it's not the guy I was thinking for. Lemon. Let's just rate lemon. Alright, Eltaf. Enjoy over there on lemon. And oh wait, why did I switch myself to like Imperial Scott outfit? Okay, and now we are experiencing this infinite loop of myself. Hello. But yeah. Alright. I cut it short here, and thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching, bunnies. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't want to miss my live stream, turn on notification by clicking on the bell icon. You could join the Discord and get notified whenever I'm live. I think I'm gonna do this type of more this type of coming soon because I do have like ideas. I do have many more different ideas on what I kind of want to talk about. So if you want me to do more this type of content, you can leave your comments, as well as anything to do to help improve my video, with the video quality, mic quality, stream quality, me quality. And if you like to support me, you can subscribe to my Twitch channel. You get access to 6 of my unique emotes, along with different perks like art free. You can also donate and get a special role on my Discord. That way you can support me and support the show. The thing is in the description below. But yeah, Special thanks to all the people who donated. Hello, Mr. Man, Matt, Dan, all the people, Aerothos, the General,
for gummies.
Roscoe.
Let's not eat the forest.
I'm gonna shoot short here. And yes, thank you for watching. And I will not cut myself off this time. 3, 2,